Okay, let's try this again. All right, we're going to be talking about Mike Pence in particular volunteering to testify in regards to the January 6th hearings. Not that he's been subpoenaed, not that Liz Cheney, Nancy Pelosi, or whoever you think, Chuck Schumer, that are orchestrating or leading the January 6th hearings against Trump. He hasn't been called to testify from anyone. But he has publicly stated that he's willing to do so. Why would Mike Pence do that? That's what we were talking about. I had to bring the live indoors. I appreciate those of you who have followed me in to continue this live. But why is Mike Pence volunteering to testify in the January 6th hearings? Is there anything to gain from that? That's the first thing we're talking about. As you see in the back on the monitor behind me, we got three topics. This is a trifecta of sorts. Liz Cheney has been trounced, losing by a margin of over 2-1, and that is probably only because a lot of Democrats in the state of Wyoming registered as a Republican to try to keep her in office. Had the true voting nature of the constituency in Wyoming been revealed, most likely she would have lost by a margin of probably even 3-1. So Liz Cheney gets trounced. And I see in the comments, love you forever, 91 puts MAGA with a bunch of party on dudes. So, and let's be clear, not only was that a tenet or success for Trump, he's taking credit for it. So Liz Cheney gets trounced. Mike Pence, Vice President Pence, is stating that he is willing to testify in regards to the January 6th hearings, even though nobody's asking him to talk. And then, of course, at the bottom, you see Rudolph Giuliani being targeted by the state of Georgia for supposedly trying to sway the election in favor of Trump, which is a felony. Being targeted by the state of Georgia, Giuliani was testifying under oath today for 6 straight hours. Do you believe America's mayor, Rudolph Giuliani, might ultimately snitch? Would he be willing to turn into a rat in regards to President Trump, number 45? Okay, going on with the program. Big Nasty, what do you think? First off, we're going to talk about Mike. Good evening.
Hey.
Good evening. Pence volunteering to testify. What the hell?
Well, I heard somebody earlier on your last live when you were outside, somebody had said something about being subpoenaed. He actually said that he would volunteer if he was invited. That's not a subpoena. That's
and you know he will be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure he will be. And I really can't say what he's going to give up. I think he's just going to go over. They're going to ask him.
But why would, if no one was even calling him to testify or ask, why would he voluntarily step up and say, pick me, I will come if you call? Why would he do that?
Trump threw him under the bus. Trump literally sent a crowd out there was saying to hang him. So it's time to get a little some of that Trump ass. So I think what he's going to do is drop some dimes on Trump if he gets. I don't know if he's going to. I don't know if he's going to run for president or not. I think Pence would be an awful president anyhow. But being a conservative myself, let me tell you what I think. And this is just
wait a minute. Let me ask you this: you voted for Trump, right?
No.
Oh, you didn't vote for Trump. Okay, go ahead.
No. I mean, my whole thing is, I don't know if you remember on a live where I had you go on and put up that video where Trump says that he doesn't need God's forgiveness.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes, I do. He said he's never asked the Lord for forgiveness in his entire life. Yes, he did say that.
That was the big red flag to me, that he's lying about being a Christian. He's a phony. I knew that he was already a con man. I already knew that. He's a thief. He steals from vendors and from customers. All of his businesses has failed. I mean, all he does, if you read his book, Art of the Deal, it literally says that the way he runs a business is to stay in debt, use the debt and make money off of it by getting tax leverages and using the tax system. He'll take people's money. Like example, he'll take $10 million and put it up for a casino. And then he'll go get 5 more people that give $10 million. So now he's got 60 million. He builds the casino, he gets everything started, then he lets it collapse, and he claims all 60 million on his taxes. While the other 5 people are like, well, shit, that was my money. But he gets money.
So you're painting a picture of a con man, almost like a Ponzi scheme. You're painting a picture of a con man.
Oh, well, that's the way it is. If you read his book, he literally tells you this is how you do it.
Wow.
Now,
Let me ask you this though. It's on topic, but a little bit different from his business. Aisha in the comments stated, "Why do you conservative?" And I'll ask you, why do you think? She's asking, why do conservatives look past Trump putting the hit on Mike Pence? Why do you think they do not hold him accountable at all for what happened that day with Pence?
Well, I'll be honest with you, just from my experience from some conservatives that are Trump supporters, they don't care. They will do anything to spite Democrats. That's all their key
But
word
that's not
is.
a Democrat. Mike Pence is not a
No,
Democrat.
what I'm talking is that he turned against Trump, though. He turned against Trump when he went ahead and certified the election. That was turning against Trump, and they see him as a traitor. No matter what, I mean, Trump was honest when he said he can go out on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and nothing would happen to him. He could literally shoot ultra mega person right in the face, and somebody will look down at him and say, "What'd you do?" I mean, they wouldn't hold him accountable for anything. That's the
God.
thing about. And I don't care what people say in the comments about Biden. I'm a conservative. I care about my party. I care about how my party looks.
They
To
ain't
look
gonna
at,
believe that. The way you speaking to Trump, they're not gonna believe
well,
you a conservative.
I don't really care what they think. They're the reason that, well, not them. My main reason that Trump existed was because of Paul Ryan was a coward. Paul Ryan could have ended Trump right at the beginning, but he didn't.
You think?
Yeah,
I
definitely.
don't know.
When
I
Trump came,
think Trump was throwing out red meat that his constituents loved. You think
yeah,
Paul Ryan could have defeated Trump?
no, what I'm saying is that when Trump came down that escalator, Paul Ryan, who was Speaker of the House at the time, could have gone right to a press conference and said the Republican Party will not financially support this horrible, immoral person. He's not a conservative. Shoot, the guy's paid for 9 abortions. He raped 2 kids. He
Wow,
sexually
9?
assaulted over 30 women. Yeah,
Wait a
that's
minute. How do you
women.
know that?
Well, they had 9 women that said that he had paid for abortions. You got to look it up,
What if
research.
what if they're lying?
Well, that's possible, but 1 or 2, but 9. I mean, it's like the
Yeah.
sexual assault, the SA thing with the 30 women. Okay, 1
Yeah.
or 2, but then he turns around and admits that he grabs women by the poon, and he probably kind of tells you, well, he's telling the truth. Then the 2 girls that were raped, one of them, Jeffrey Epstein, he had a deposition, and they asked him, "Do you know Bill Clinton?" He said, "Yeah." "Has he been on your plane?" He said, "Yeah." "Has he been on your island?" They said, "Yeah." Have you ever seen him having sex with underage girls? And he says, "No." Then they ask him some questions, and they said, "Do you know Donald Trump?" He's like, "Yeah." "He's ever been on your plane?" He said, "No." "Has he ever been on your island?" "Yeah." You ever seen him having sex with underage girls?" "I plead the fifth." So in the same
Wait.
deposition,
Who is this person? Who is this person that was questioned and ultimately plead the fifth? Who are you saying this? Who was this?
Jeffrey Epstein, and
Oh.
you can read the deposition, you can read the questions. I just kind of summarize them. But Jeffrey Epstein had a deposition for his first trial where he got the charges were dropped. I think there wasn't enough evidence, but that was a part of it. Now, why in the same deposition would he say no for Clinton and then plead the fifth for Trump. If he's lying for
If
Clinton,
you will, because so many folks in the audience are yelling source. If you can send me, because I have not heard this information, I would
I'll
love
have
to
to look it
see.
up. Yeah, if you go, I can't remember. It's either in New York or California. I'm trying to remember. It might be New York. You have to look up Jeffrey Epstein deposition, and I think there's like 3 or 4 of them. Then you have to read through them and find it. I'll research it, and I don't know how. I guess I can message you. I could research it and
Yeah.
message you the.
Yeah, on the front of my profile, right under my picture is my email address. I really would like to see that. If he's suggesting that he's seen folks having, relations with underage, and then all of a sudden he gets to Trump and he pleads the fifth, I would love to see that.
Yeah. Now remember, I showed you proof when I told you something, so I'll
Yeah,
find you
yeah, you did.
the.
You do have credibility from that other state because there's no way in hell I would have ever believed President Trump, leading the Republican Party, would have ever stated on video that he has never asked the Lord for forgiveness. But yeah, you showed me the video. I cannot deny it, and I was shocked.
So let's see. Cheney, looking at how crazy MAGA Wyoming is, she knew this loss was coming. I think
Yes.
she did the thing. I'm not a big fan of Cheney because there's a lot of things she voted against that the GOP was pushing. A lot of people say she voted Trump with Trump. It doesn't matter because it's the GOP that pushes all the policies. Trump just signs them when they're done. So she went with a lot of GOP policies like the anti lynching bill, the voting bill. There's a lot of bills that she voted against. I'm like, why would you not support things like that? I mean, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of Republicans that voted against veteran health care. That just pisses me off that Republicans supposed to be pro military vote against veteran health care. So it pisses me off. And the last thing, Giuliani, man, he's going to roll over like a wet noodle, dude. He's already broke.
Whoa. Whoa.
He's
So
already
you expect him to turn into a rat, state's evidence, or
oh,
whatever the
oh
hell, federal informant.
he's got so many financial problems because of the voting machine lawsuit, and he's had to pay so many legal bills, dude.
Yeah.
And that Trump is not helping him with anything. Yeah, he's gonna. I think that we would have heard already from the prosecutor, just like with Trump, if Giuliani spit out a whole bunch of Fifth Amendments. We would have heard that already. He was in there for
Wow.
5 to 6 hours, and nobody's heard anything. Trump pled the fifth over 450 times. So Giuliani is spilling the beans, and I think he's gonna negotiate, either immunity or a very light sentence because he's in big trouble with some of the shit he did.
But my question is, do you think even if he said something critical of Trump, do you think MAGA would even believe him?
No, they won't. Now, let me
Yeah.
also say too, um, I don't think that no matter what happens in either Georgia or the federal or New York, as we already see with New York, Trump's CFO has pled guilty, and he's looking like 5 months in prison for the tax shit. And that's usually how people with that are rich like Trump, that's how they get away with it. Is they have somebody, some little minion down below that's going to take it for them. They don't do that intentionally, but when everything gets done, everything looks like, oh, he did it. So Trump will have his hands clean. I think Jared Kushner is the one that's in deep shit when it comes to the classified documents that they found. Now, a lot of people, I've been in the classified environment with the DOD for over 40 years. I'm still in it. I'm 60. I started when I was 18 years old. And I did 20 years in the military, and I still work for the DOD. But SCI material
Right.
never goes out.
Right.
You don't have that stuff at Trump's house. I don't care what anybody says on here trying to make an excuse. He did not declassify because there's a documentation process to do that. He could, but he would have to do that while he was president. The other thing is
he should easily be able to. Yeah, if he did declassify that stuff as he's suggesting, there should be an easy way to prove or disprove that.
Definitely, there's a National Classification Authority, and they would literally have every single document. The other thing they know for sure it hasn't been declassified is the number one step is that the classification is removed. The documents no longer.
Let me ask you this. Okay, I got to part ways with you. I got to part ways with you soon, but let me ask you this question because I got CNN behind me, and they have the banner is saying that Trump is considering releasing surveillance video of the FBI search in Mar-a-Lago. Let me ask you this now: if the stuff that they seized from him was top secret, could he be allowed to show video of them seizing documents that we're not supposed to be able to see?
He could be criminally liable if his video actually shows a document, which I doubt it. Usually those documents are going to be in boxes when they go in and out.
Yeah.
And what I understand, I'm understanding from Fox is that his allies who have seen the video are recommending that he not do that. Here's the funny thing, though.
We didn't ever listen to recommendations.
Well, the funny thing is that everything that Trump has done has backfired. He told them, "Oh, release the inventory," and then he got on the news and said, "I'm going to release it because I have a copy." And then DOJ said, "Okay, we'll release it," and they did. And all of a sudden, everybody saw what they had picked up. Now he's like, "Release the affidavit." Well, even his lawyers know that affidavits don't just get dropped out if in an investigation is currently pending, especially with something like that. So these classified documents are something that's very serious. Now, you got to go back to when they left the White House. How did Jared Kushner, who had a relationship with the Saudis, suddenly get a $2 billion drop into his hedge fund, which was failing, by the way, from the Saudi prince?
Well, they're going to counter that one with Hunter Biden. I get where you're going, but Big Nasty, I got to move it on, man.
And I agree. And if Hunter Biden did something wrong, they need to arrest him. And right now, it's still under investigation. If they find something, take him down. I'm cool with that.
All right.
I don't care about Hunter. I don't care about
Let's see what happens. All right. All right, Big Nasty. By the way, thank you. 20 years, huh, man? What branch?
Navy. I retired as a Navy.
Very nice. Thank you for your service, man. Come on back through anytime.
All right, thanks, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, absolutely a pleasure. All right. Now, we're going to be discussing, first of all, because there is a lot of folks, particularly defenders of Trump, that do believe the documents that he had taken from his possession were indeed declassified. As my previous caller, Big Nasty, suggested, 20 years in the military. What about the notion, what he stated, that there is a process to declassifying documents? Would that not make sense? Because we all would agree that even someone with top secret clearance is capable of stealing documents. Let's not use Trump as an example at all. Let's just say someone else with top secret clearance no longer was serving, no longer was in that atmosphere, but stole some documents or wanted to steal some documents for personal gain. How could you tell if they had them legally or if they stole them? How could you tell if the documents in their possession were declassified or still classified? There has to be a record that shows the change from classified documents to declassified. He can't just declassify it in his head and say, if anybody ever asks, I'll say it was declassified. Wouldn't there have to be a process? Wouldn't what my last caller say make a lot of sense in that? I don't understand why folks are not asking for that. Like, he should have to have some proof. Looking in the comments real quick, they are part of the cult and won't believe the truth. Wow. There is a process, but no record of him doing so. Beth Withers, and that's what we're talking about here. Is that if he did indeed declassify said documents, it should be very easy to show that he did that. Certainly, when we're talking about documents that are allegedly so sensitive that merely viewing them could pose a harm to this country, that they should be viewed only in a protected environment. To take them to the point where you can now have them in Mar-a-Lago, in a storage shed near the pool, to downgrade the security required for that document to that point, there has to be some sort of declassification record that happened. I mean, it would be like having a document showing how we built Little Fat Boy, the bomb used to blow up Hiroshima or Nagasaki. Now, obviously, that was highly classified in the 1940s. Now, maybe not as much so, but they had to have a process to take that document from the nature it was in 1945 when we used the actual bomb built from that document when no one else had the bomb at the time, to the position we're in now. There has to be some type of stamp, some type of record, something somewhere along the line from someone in a position of authority stating that this is no longer classified. He should easily be able to produce that. Fast pass. 1, 2, 3.
Fast.
Hey, man.
Opposite side of my previous caller. What's going on, Fast?
Oh, buddy, I never heard such a deep Republican in my life, or a conservative. Golly, that guy was conservative, and I am.
Well,
my
wait. But
Jet's
then,
parked outside. I
yeah, but
remember him.
Liz Cheney is a conservative, and she would talk like him.
No, she voted with Trump a lot of the time. She did, but she's part of the Cheney Bush Trump haters too. I mean, they hate him. They hate the man. Never can I see so much hate and not expect that they would do something ulterior to set him up or get him out of office. I'm not saying that they're, that everybody in DOJ or everybody in FBI is crooked, but it's the top is all that has to be is the top. It doesn't matter a lot what the people are down below. It's who it is at the top. Now,
What about? Okay, well, it's interesting you would say. Now, it's interesting you would say only the top. What about the Capitol Police who testified in regards to what happened on January 6th, and folks were dismissed in their testimony? Those Capitol Police that testified, they weren't at the top.
Well, no, they weren't. But the same guy that was over D.C. at the same time, that Capaluni guy or whatever his name is, have you done research on him?
No.
Well, he was over the January 6th in D.C. and then he got transferred, I think, to Florida. He's been kind of following Trump around. Now, I don't know, but after I've read and did a little more research into what happened in Michigan, to what they tried to do with this Governor Whitner thing, after I read that, I would not put anything past them. The characters that the FBI got involved for this complete farce. These guys, I mean, it was the FBI that paid the money to go get the guns for these guys to go out, and said they recommended, why don't you shoot into the governor's mansion? They've got all that down pat. The guy was, not even reprimanded. The guy was kind of promoted that went over that did the Michigan setup.
So would it be safe to say, and by the way, folks, tap the screen, get your boy up to 10,000 likes. We got 700 people. Let me ask you this. Would it be safe to say with you, sir, Fast Pass, would it be safe to say with you that the FBI has lost so much credibility that you're not going to take their word on anything they say about Trump? Fast Pass. Did I lose you there, sir? Okay, I think I may have lost Fast Pass. In Fast Pass, you're on mute. You're still here. You must have muted your device because it's indicating you have muted something. I'll give you a couple seconds to get it straight there, but otherwise I'm gonna have to move on.
Okay,
Nope,
how's
will
that?
not says. Okay, I can hear you now. So
How's
would it
that?
be safe to say? Would it be safe to say with you that the FBI has lost so much credibility that you're no longer going to take their word on anything about Trump?
No, I said it's time for an independent counsel. They need to get somebody in there that's not been so heavily involved. Merrick Garland already recused himself from one case involving, but why not involving, Trump? Why not recuse himself from this one? Whenever it's
Who
obvious
could
that
you
there's
get?
some people. Yeah, he was recused. Um,
No. But you said an independent counsel.
yeah,
Who could you
yeah.
get that you would trust?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think that a division, and I know that. Hey, I used to watch Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. on Saturday mornings, the FBI show, and I know law enforcement is we are always relying that the people we appoint are good people. That what Patrick Henry wrote about whether there should be a presidency is saying we are going to assume that they're good people, and we only know that they could be good people until they get a job like a presidency, and all of a sudden it changes. They become different people now with power. So I don't know that I wouldn't trust them in anything, but they are spending way too much resources, I believe. Remember what were people saying about the passports, Handsome? What were they saying? Oh, they took the passports because he's a flight risk. Well,
Yeah,
they gave him back to him,
yeah.
and these people are silent
Yeah.
now. So you know how I don't like knee jerking, and I would be willing to sit back and wait. But but they did it right now. Right before the midterms. Um, Merrick Garland is definitely a polarizing figure because he definitely's got to have some kind of animus against the not just the Trump, but against the entire Republican parties. But I wouldn't put past what they did to the guy what they did to the guy that put the website up on Twitter that said you can text in your vote. Remember, his name was Douglas Mackey. And but there's another group that came out and said Donald Trump said that not to vote on the midterms because Donald Trump is boycotting the midterms. Don't vote during the midterms. He's telling all his supporters not to vote during the midterms. That company didn't get checked out. They didn't get crucified for using their First Amendment rights.
Right.
But you can't. I don't know. Right now, I got to say it is one-sided, and anybody that doesn't see that justice is not being played a fair hand is denial. They're living in denial. It's just. And I told you I won't vote for Trump if in the primaries. If he runs, I doubt he won't get my vote. I think that if Pompeo runs, he'll probably be my next choice. Um, and I just that's my opinion, man. And I mean, these people in the comments, they can be whatever, but they love to knee jerk comment, and I don't want to do that. What do you think?
So
Do you
you
think people are?
believe you believe that Trump is being railroaded, but at the same time you don't think he is the person to put in the office for
No, I
2024. You
don't.
don't think he should be president yet.
No, there's
Okay.
too many other good choices that won't that have a little bit more of savoir faire about them, and aren't people that are as pompous as he is. It does take some politician. It does take some what like it takes a little. What do they say?
Tact.
Every axe.
Take some tact.
If you yeah, well, yeah. Say if you don't. Every axe has to have a little bit of temper, but one that flies off the handle is useless. So that's what I think he does. He flies off the handle with his words, and he doesn't think about what he's saying. I hope that he doesn't get the nomination because I don't think
I
that
got one
Republican
for
Party will
you.
win.
I
Do you
got one
think?
for you. Give me
Go
your
ahead.
spiel on this. Zion6190 in the comments said Candace Owens 2024. Would you support
Wow.
Candace Owens for president?
I don't think I don't know if she's got the experience. Is she 35 years old? I
That's a good question.
don't.
She
I
might
don't know how old
be.
she is.
That's a good question.
But I like
She got to be
Pompilio.
right. She got.
I like Pompilio and Nikki Haley I mean, that woman was in it. There's your foreign exchange. I mean, your foreign um, foreign
Yeah.
desk
I think Nikki
experience.
Haley, even though I'm a liberal, I think Nikki Haley would be moderate enough to get folks to at least listen. What about Ted Cruz? You know he wants it.
No, I always keep thinking back at Ted Cruz about 20 years ago, and they show those videos of him about he was that smart ass kid in class that would tell the teacher on you, but he just struck me as I don't think he's presidential material. I don't. I think he's but like I said, I think it doesn't need to be a senator. That's why I'm amazed that a senator got it this time, because senators always had a record to run against. That's why you saw few senators in the White House. It's because they had too much of a record. Their voting record was well known, but people that are from a cabinet position, or they generally have a better chance because they don't know their record on
Yeah.
voting. So I don't know. I
Well,
just don't think he's going to help a conservative cause if he gets nominated. I think it's going to. I mean,
I will
every
say
issue is
this:
going to be life or death.
after watching President Trump tweet out a picture of Ted Cruz's wife next to Melania Trump and say, which one would you choose, indicating that Ted Cruz's wife was not as attractive as Melania Trump. And Ted Cruz doing nothing about that and now siding with President Trump, to me, makes Ted Cruz look like a wimp. If you can't defend your own wife, that's all I need to hear.
That's
So,
true. That's true. I don't know which one makes him more the wimp or Trump more the asshole. That's
yeah.
great.
Well,
But
we know Trump indulges in being an asshole, but he made he made Cruz look horrible like that. Like, if you're his wife, how do you explain what your husband is doing, going around promoting this guy when he tweeted out a picture of you with a
hey, buddy,
statement like that?
I think I've always thought family was always off limits, and so was somebody's sexual dalliances. That was always off limits in politics, and people today don't remember that day when it was off limits. But I really do think a lot of this started back with Clinton's impeachment. I think that's what started a lot of this. They shouldn't have done it. They spent too much resources on something that was yeah, I lied to Congress about having sex with a girl and what the definition of sex is, and what the what yes is. That was such a cluster. I mean, that was the start
You got to talk to Newt
of this
Gingrich on
severe.
that. Yeah, you got to talk to Newt
Yeah,
Gingrich on that. All right, well, I got to move it on, man.
yeah,
Got to
always
talk to
good,
Newt Gingrich. Uh,
always good.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure, Fast Pass. Catch you on the next one. Okay, and in there said, Dan said, Trump has a sense of humor and it works, so there's that. You don't criticize the looks of a rival politician's wife and refer to that as a sense of humor. She's not even in on the competition. It's not like Miss Cruz was going around insulting Trump or something like that and talking about his looks. You don't insult somebody's wife and refer to that as a sense of humor. That'll get your ass kicked in a lot of places. And it should, because that is traditionally what men have done, is protected the honor of their wives, which makes Ted Cruz look rather soft on that. You think if Ted Cruz had have insulted Melania, maybe called her a mail order bride, maybe made fun of her accent or something like that, you think Trump would have came around and been endorsing him the same way Cruz? You don't see any issue with that. You think that Trumpers would have been saying, well, Ted Cruz does have a sense of humor. No, come on now, let's be fair about things. All right, going into the box, we will move on to, did I say Dan? I see. Okay,
Yes,
Dan.
sir. First,
Very little class. Dan Reddy has very little class. Dan, good evening.
good evening. First of all, I've been hanging with you for months now. Just wanted to toss that in.
I appreciate you making me feel like Mike Pence at a MAGA gallery, just hanging around. I like it. What's on your mind?
Actually 3 words: fair and balanced. Why
Sure.
I do enjoy your lives is because you do have a pretty well-rounded. You have good knowledge and a pretty well-rounded overlook on general issues. So I do truly appreciate
Appreciate
that.
that.
Um,
It's an
my
honor. Thank you. Appreciate that.
my only point is let's take Melania real quick. Do you think she was treated with respect during Trump's presidency?
Well, I didn't hear anybody say she was a man. I think no, I don't think she was. I mean, folks went after her, but I don't think anybody said she was a man.
Could I share something on that one? That was Joan
Sure.
Rivers. That was Joan Rivers, who's a comedian, and it was I didn't appreciate personally. I didn't appreciate the comment, but she is a wise guy comedian. There's that.
You said Joan River. What are you talking about? The late Joan Rivers. What are you talking about? Appreciate that, Hattie. Yeah. Thank you. What do you mean by Joan Rivers? What are you talking about?
Or on my I just saw it on another vid like 10 seconds ago before I came in here. Or is it was it Joan Rivers? She's walking up the steps and she said made a pretty bad reference about Michelle not being a female. Maybe it
Yeah,
wasn't
but
Joan
you're
Rivers.
taking. And even if that's true, just like Hillary Clinton was the first to use the birther on Obama, that doesn't excuse everybody else that done it. Okay, if Joan Rivers did it first, she's a comedian. That doesn't mean a former president or his supporters should say, well, we can call her a man now too because Joan Rivers did it. I mean, if Joan Rivers did it, then she's equally as wrong. That doesn't excuse all the folks that did it afterwards because she was first.
Yeah, yeah, I wasn't had zero disagreement with your take and your statement. What I was just looking for a little bit of fair. Let's say every other president's wife gets nice photo shots on covers of magazines, and Melania is a very refined woman, and she deserves some credit for carrying herself in a fine way during the Trump presidency. And I don't think she was given any. I didn't see one magazine with featuring anything about her positive. Nothing. I
Well,
don't think that.
you do understand that um, Melania Trump is also on record saying that Barack Obama was born in Kenya as well. I mean, it ain't like people just came after her in a vacuum. She was doing things to actively anger people.
You
You
truly
there, Dan?
yeah, you believe she was doing things to actively anger people?
Well, if you suggest the current president is born in a foreign country in effort to disqualify his presidency, and I'm not just talking about Trump, I'm talking about Melania Trump was saying that stuff too. If you do that, trying to disqualify the current president and make it so he cannot maintain his office, and then your husband wins right after that, do you expect not to have any repercussions in regards to what you did to the previous president?
Okay, so let's go with 4 years of she did a fine job in the White House. There's nobody that can take that away from her. She didn't do anything during her tenure in the White House, I'm talking about. So over
Yeah.
a 4 year period, making a statement maybe where she had bad information or she might have thought carefully before saying something, I'll agree. But my main point was that I don't think she was treated fairly over the 4 years that she presided in the White House. That was my general point.
Yeah. And you might be right, but at the same time, you are admitting that what she did to the previous president was not fair. So you're saying that somebody who did something unfair to someone else was treated unfairly.
Oh, could I give you an example?
Sure, sure.
Go back to a little idiotic and truly idiotic statement caught on tape that went way, way back with Billy Bush, right? Even to this present day, women across America, or excuse me, not women, young women across America, that's the one thing that they know about President Trump. The one thing. So the media does a real good job of hammering that nail over and over. And so you can't take his 4 years and say, okay, he did a lot of good things, but that one comment destroyed his whole presidency. Things are a little bit
Well,
off
I got
kilter.
another one for you. You mentioned Melania Trump. I don't have time quite yet to bring up the picture, but what about the notion that Melania Trump went down to the border to check on the children everybody was saying that were in cages, wearing
Mhm.
a jacket with a huge sign on the back that said, "I don't care, do you?" How do you feel about her doing that?
On that one, I am totally confused on how the hell that would possibly happen, and I have no I have no answer for that one. However, I'll parallel that with our AOC going down there at under Trump's presidency, but not going down there once under Biden's presidency. There's some bad things happening there too, and there wasn't equal coverage on that.
Well, but you would be the first to admit AOC doesn't get treated. You mentioned Melania Trump not getting treated fairly. Have you seen all the memes and the insults of AOC? You would have to agree that what you're saying she did, you would have to agree that the result says she don't get treated fairly, right?
Okay, AOC is a kind of in a unique position because the Democratic Party, where you have Pelosi in the chair, right, and then you have the squad who has their green agenda, which is fine, and so you have that kind of divisive split there, and I think some of the push back and forth is to keep that division going. Would you agree?
Okay. Well, let's stick to the actual topic. I don't want to go too far off the AOC because we're not really discussing it right now. But as you can see on the monitor behind me, she went to check on children that were being separated at the border, sleeping on what looked like aluminum foil, kept in cages, wearing a jacket with no. Now, Melania Trump is a fashion model, so there is no denying she knows that clothing and apparel makes a statement. Because you just said it, she's a dignified woman. You were giving her credit. Why the hell would she do that? Why would she do something like that?
You get that one is totally beyond. I don't know. I can't. It's a misnomer. I don't know what happened there. That's very bizarre, and she paid for that one. There's no undoubted
Yeah,
terms on that.
yeah. So
I'll
when you
agree.
when you say that she never got treated fairly, you would have to assume that this could have a part in that, right?
Yes, that could have a part in it. Not on the overall 4 years of what she did in the White House,
Okay.
though.
Would you put that on the cover of Vogue?
No, maybe on Newsweek, like it was.
I mean, unless you do not want to sell any publications. I mean, this is. I mean, she wanted to check on children wearing that. I mean, even if you want to talk about illegal immigrants entering this country illegal, we're talking about kids that have no control over what their parents are doing, living in these horrendous conditions because their parent illegally crossed the border. Even if you believe that if you commit a crime with your child, you deserve to be separated from your child, you would have to admit the child is 100% innocent in that. So to come check on the child wearing an outfit like that and wondering why people are not treating you right, it should be self-explanatory.
On the items that you brought up, I cannot disagree. Period. That's why I enjoy your show, because you do have facts. You come with facts. You come armed.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I do, just
Always a pleasure having you here, man. Always good to have you here. You always
I
welcome
don't.
back anytime, man. But
Okay, thank you.
listen, I
Yes.
would dare say that if she hadn't got involved in that type of stuff, she probably and also someone pointed out that she destroyed the rose garden of Jackie Onassis or President Kennedy. What was Jackie O? Yeah, Jackie Onassis. Yeah, John F. Kennedy's wife had a rose garden at the White House, and she destroyed that or something. To me, that's a little more trivial as opposed to doing something that is horrendous as what I have up here. But okay, Dan, I'll give you the last word, man.
God bless. Keep up the good work, and we'll see you soon.
Always a pleasure. Come on back anytime. Good talk. Okay,
Thanks.
looking in the comments. Good talk with Dan there. Okay.
I see what you're doing. Okay. Go hard in the motherfucking paint. 3-5. Good. What do you see that I'm doing? Go hard in the paint. I love that name. What am I doing? I'm talking with the folks. You know who I like talking to the most? MAGA. What am I doing? Looking at the comments here, hearsay. Well, the picture I have on the monitor behind me, let me take that down because that is just horrible for a first lady to do that. Now, somebody in the comments immediately said that, well, at least Melania Trump did go down there, obviously being critical of both Kamala Harris and Biden not going to the border, which is a legitimate point that they have not been very forthcoming in terms of going to the border. But if you go to the border with a jacket on saying you don't give a fuck about what's going on, you might as well not go at all, right? I mean, seriously, if I'm locked up in jail and one of my relatives come and one don't, but the one that does come is like, yo, it has need to stay in prison forever, I'm not going to give you any credit for showing up. You're not doing anything to my benefit. Okay. Somebody said malaria. Melania is in another world. Okay, yeah, I bet that cheered the kids up. Exactly, T-Mac. Exactly. What Melania did was nothing short of embarrassing. And as my previous caller was asking, why did people treat her wrong and things like that? Why would you get involved in this? Meaning the kids at the border. Why would you even get involved in that fiasco to do something like that? And the jacket she had on, as I showed you on the monitor, I mean, the letters looked like they were damn near painted on with a brush, with the clear-cut intention of making sure they could be seen. The letters literally go from the back of her neck down below her ass. Why do that? Why do that? That is permanent, tarnished legacy to do something like that. I mean, just come out and say, I don't care about the kids that are involved in coming here illegally. I don't care nothing about them. It was horrible. Looking at the comments. Totally love your honesty there, says Rita DeVille. And I appreciate the fact that you're watching here. And by the way, folks, if you can make 15,000 likes happen, my patriots out there and the liberals that are tuning in, please feel free to do so. Always, I make it clear to you, I do not ban comments. I do not censor folks, even if you come on here and tear me a new one. I used to have on my page, one of my viewers, Snacks, I went to one of his forums and he cussed me the hell out. Let him talk. Like I said, free speech. Yeah! Love it when you guys put that little hat and mustache on me. Shout out to that. But yeah, I don't ban comments, so my preferred audience is MAGA. I'll let you guys speak. Being a liberal does not mean you are not entitled to your First Amendment rights. So you come here, you get to talk. Okay, looking at the box. Hardhead Herbert. A lot of H.
Not the WWE. Hardhead Herbert. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. How you doing this evening?
It's a pleasure talking to you. What's on your mind this evening?
Just a couple of points about Melania Trump. Of all the classy first ladies we've had, from what's her name, Eleanor Roosevelt, the one that did the thing with Social Security and a few other things, Jackie O. Never had seen any of them in an unclassy. But to break it down, I'd never seen them ladies' ankles, but Melania shows it all. I've never seen a first lady undrobe, but she was on the. She made the magazine when she was there nude. Remember that remember the nude?
I forgot about that.
That
Yeah, I forgot that she is the only first lady we have nudes of. I forgot all about that. Oh my
and she
God.
had then they on the backs of the LBGPA community, but she was on that thing with another lady all wrapped up. So what is she? You know,
You're killing it. You batting 1,000. Keep going.
you know, she wasn't that smart. She don't have any degrees other than some type of literature or something like that. And Michelle Obama is a lawyer. She is a Harvard, Yale grad top. you know, exceptionally smart, beautiful lady. She took care of her kids. It was never no bad press. And they tried to say Michelle was a guy. And it's like, no, that's just a thick sister. Not
But
just
what
just
you
the
do, but Melania Trump, she can't. I believe she can speak 5 languages. She's not. I mean, she is a smart woman to some degree. She didn't land Trump just because she's attractive. She does have some things going for herself. She was. I mean, she was a successful model and things like that. I mean, obviously, you picked her for her looks and probably her, being Eastern European and things like that. But she wasn't. I mean, she wasn't as bad and her reputation has now preceded her because she's done a lot of crazy shit now that she's been with Trump. But I mean, she wasn't that bad.
well, she's a quiet version of Trump. She's just like him. Because
Wow.
there's a book that say how can two agree unless they walk together? Two walk together unless they agree. She agreed with him. She's just the quiet part of him. And if you ask her
Do
a
you
couple of
think?
questions,
I'm gonna ask you this, and it's just 100% speculation. I guess I could ask you guys in the audience yes or no as well. 100% speculation because I don't know at the end. But do you think that President Trump actually discussed his intention to run for office with her before doing so? Like, Obama was like, my wife wouldn't let me do this. But do you think Trump even talked to her, or do you think he just announced it and was like, she gonna roll with me?
a bit of both. A bit of
Okay.
both. He
All right.
told her what was happening, and she agreed to it and stuff like that. And but after the thing come out about the Stormy Daniels stuff, she tore her prenuptial up. She was getting ready to walk on him. I bet you any money, and it would have made him look bad. So he started begging and crying about staying, and she said, "Well, if just this speculation, if I'm gonna stay, I need a whole new prenuptial." And that cheap out, that $50 million out turned into 100 million. That's why he signed the papers where he made her mother and her daddy citizens of the U.S. It's only happened after Stormy Daniels. She got him by the nose. She's leading him around now.
Well,
So
but you are correct in pointing out that several of her family members acquired U.S. citizenship while Trump was in office, and I know a lot of folks on the MAGA side of the aisle. You're not bitching about that, but yeah, they used Trump's influence to get. I mean, I think her mom, the kid's grandma, a bunch of them got citizenship while Trump was in office.
yeah, the whole little clan from that side of wherever they from, Estonia or something like that, became U.S. citizens, but they want to talk
Right.
about people that's coming over here that's trying to better themselves. And the United States is a large part of the problem that South America, Central America is having with the economics and stuff like that. This country has always put its hands in different other countries' business, and when they get messed up, then they want to wipe their hands like they didn't do anything. But they're part of the reason why the drug cartel is down there because the United States use more than 80% of the illegal drugs. So where there's a market, there's a supplier.
Yeah.
And then they
Well,
want to
I
get
agree
back and
with
say
you.
that,
I agree with you in regards to America leaving folks in a worse position and then wiping their hands and not wanting to help them. I would certainly agree with that because I think the Ukraine is a perfect example of that. Whereas we encourage them to, I guess you'd say, whatever the word is, get rid of your Soviet era nukes. They did that at the
yeah.
urging of America, the UK, and Russia. And once they got rid of those weapons, you see what's happening. It's almost like folks who suggest getting rid of your guns puts you in a position of being a victim to tyranny. The Ukraine got rid of their nukes, and now they are literally facing global tyranny on the world stage. So, and you got a lot of MAGA like, don't give them anything. Don't why is Biden sending millions of dollars? Leave them hanging when we are the reason that they're in that position. So I do agree with you on that point.
And then when they talk about Ukraine and they talk about the money, they're saying it's almost like a stimulus check, but that's just supplies that they're sending to the people, in the form of weapons and defense and intelligence, stuff like that. No one is at the window getting a check for $100,000 and keep going shopping. Is Let me ask you something. You ever been to Israel?
No.
Oh man, you talk about messed up down there. They got the Palestinians against the water. They got that's where the wall. They got a wall over there. They treat the
Yeah.
people really, and that's how it'll spy. That's why nobody they become president or any elective office. You can't say one peep about Israel, and that's not they
Obama
did.
did, and Obama was actually speaking. Obama was speaking out about against Israel and their settlements on Palestinian land. And yeah, he was getting criticized heavily for it, but Obama did speak out against Israel, which is why I believe some Congress folks against Obama's wishes went over there and started talking to Netanyahu and things like that and trying to assure him that they weren't necessarily going along with Obama. But Obama did speak out. He was critical of Israel.
Yeah, because they treat those. I was over there for a short time on a vacation, and what I seen was worse than anything could have been happening in South Africa. Those Palestinians are really oppressed, and they are Israelis. They are not Israelites. I always remind them of that. They claim to be God's children, but they are not. They're Israelis. The people in the book say they're Israelites. That's two different. That's two different people. And they're just the politics of that country. That's why Trump
So
and what do you call him, Bibi?
yeah, Bibi Netanyahu.
It was so tight.
Yeah. So you're suggesting that
Yeah, him and
after
Trump was real
all of
tight
what
because they have the same.
yeah, so you're suggesting that after all of what the Jewish community went through under Hitler, they got their own country, and now they're
Are
doing
you
the
breaking up?
exact same thing to someone else.
They're
You,
doing
you
the
there?
exact same thing
Yeah, yeah.
to those
Okay,
people
yeah,
yeah, they're doing the same thing to those people.
that's horrible.
Yeah,
That is horrible.
they
All right, Triple H, I'll give you the last word. I got to move it on, but Triple H,
they
it's
doing the
been a
same
pleasure
thing.
talking to
Matter
you.
of fact, they're doing worse because at least Hitler did it out in public.
Damn,
Yeah. So, but
that's horrible.
but back to Melania, she she uh she, she she'll never be a Michelle Obama, and she'll never be a Jill Biden. That lady has a doctorate degree in education. She's still teaching. What activities or what program did Melania Trump further enhance while she was in office? She had the with that be best, and she stole that from Michelle
Well,
Obama.
what about the idea that Melania Trump was speaking out against bullying?
And she was a bully. Her husband is a bully. that's like having
I knew that
that's like
was going to
having
come up. I just figured
that's
I'd
like
toss
owning a
you a
liquor store.
softball.
That's like owning a liquor store and telling people drinking bad for you. you know,
All
yeah.
right. I
So
got to move it on, Herbert. Triple H, I got to move it on, man. I appreciate you coming through.
always wonderful to talk. Always wonderful to talk to you. Keep it going, man. I love that. Love your contact.
Thank you. And you always welcome
All
back
right.
anytime, man. All right.
All
Okay.
right.
Look.
Real quick before we, what did I say? Online bullying, but nobody ever heard anything after the name was announced. I don't, Reedy Rowe, what are you, online bullying, but nobody ever heard anything after the name was announced. I don't quite get that. The bullying campaign was promising, but was not authentic. Hubert, I would agree. If you're letting your husband go around calling people Pocahontas and all these crazy ass names, not only is it insulting to Senator Warren, despite her own improprieties of pretending like she was Native American 40 some odd years ago, but not only was it insulting to the senator, you had the Native American community saying that they were insulted by Trump referring to Senator Warren as Pocahontas. And for the most part, he didn't give a damn about the criticism coming from the Native American community because he still calls her Pocahontas to this day. Be best. I see that in here. Let me go back to the box. 2A, Second Amendment, better life. 2A 2A better line.
Under some circumstances, if you exercise your 2A rights, you will have a better life. Really will be allowed to maintain it. 2A, good afternoon or good evening. 2A, can you hear me? You're really muffled. There's no way I'm gonna be able to. Can you hear me? Yeah, I don't know
with your audio over there, but it was totally illegible. Okay, then she shouldn't have said she was an Indian. Keith, in regards to Elizabeth Warren, you're saying then she should not have said she was an Indian or a Native American. Partially right. Elizabeth Warren was absolutely treacherous for claiming to be a Native American to get benefits in terms of entering law school. Treacherous thing to do. However, she did that in 1986. How many years later are we going to allow Trump to continue calling her Pocahontas? We're talking about an event that's almost 40 years ago. Yeah, she was wrong for doing it. We can call her out, but damn, how long do we continue calling her out for something she did when she was, in her early 20s? That's where the problem is that you're still calling her Pocahontas in 2020, 2021, 2022 for something she did in 1986. And you have the Native American community outraged by it. Why not just point out that she was wrong for lying about her heritage? Lying about your heritage doesn't mean you need to be called Pocahontas. I mean, there was a white woman going around lying that she was black. That don't mean you go around calling her LaQuisha. I mean, it has nothing to do with what she did. The Pocahontas name is just flat out bullying. You could point out her indiscretions, the things she did wrong, on face value. You was on some bullshit claiming you were Native American. You don't have to call her Pocahontas. Certainly when the Native Americans are telling you they don't like it, unless you don't give a shit about Native Americans. So let's not go there. I'm going to go to Rep 8319.
Rep 8319, a frequent viewer of the program. He insults me all day, every day. This should be a pleasure. Rep 8319, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Rep, are you there? Oh, come on, Rep. Rep has been in the comments.
Commentary of me, which is why I went to him first. His commentary of me essentially is about 99% critical. He almost every comment he makes in regards to your humble correspondent, yours truly. You're stupid, you're an idiot, you're a lib, tart, whatever you want to suggest. It's always critical. So when I've seen Rep 8319 in the box, first time ever, I was delighted to talk to the man. Make it clear, it's a MAGA-friendly audience. I don't censor anyone. But unfortunately, I brought him on and there was nothing there. So let's go on back to Jim Flanagan. I wanted to...
Rep 83, I wanted to talk to you. Jim, good evening.
Hey, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing real good. We're talking about, starting out, Mike Pence volunteering to testify on the January 6 hearings. What do you think? Why would he voluntarily volunteer to testify?
Not sure. He's Mike Pence. Who knows? He got an angle somewhere.
You think it might be?
I think he's probably in the Cheney crowd.
Well, Cheney is a Republican conservative, right?
No.
What party do you think she runs with?
Same crowd her dad did.
It's
part of the same part her dad did. You know what I mean? That's just a part of the politics. They want power and control.
You don't think Dick Cheney was a conservative?
I think Dick Cheney was a crook.
Here's something I don't get. Now, I'm a long-time debater with conservatives, Fox News watcher, all of that shit. A lot of the MAGA, the Trump supporters that are over 50, supported all of these people that they're calling crooks. I remember Bill O'Reilly on Fox News tearing a new one to every one of our allies that did not support us in regards to getting involved in Iraq, saying that they were all enemies of America and things like that. All of the Republicans were totally behind the war. And if anybody like Cindy Sheehan, for instance, who spoke out against the Iraq war, they were all traitors and things like that to their country. Now, this same group of people are telling us that the folks they endorsed are crooks, which makes me wonder, how should we view them now that they're endorsing Trump when they admit that the last guy they endorsed was a crook? How are we supposed to view that?
I think people's views change over time. They always do. You know, I didn't know who Cheney was before he was vice president. You know,
Neither,
and then as
yeah, neither did I.
I think we learned as we went. You know, Bush wasn't the right choice, but you live and learn, right? We live and learn with a lot of
Well, they
people.
elected him twice, though. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, I
he
know.
wasn't the right choice. They elected him twice. Not to mention he was governor of Texas. For him not to be the right choice, they sure gave him a bunch of wins.
Well, they did. They did. And you know, I'm guilty as any. I voted for him. I don't think I voted for him both times, but my thing is, I got on here today because I
You
seen
voted
you
for
got
John Kerry,
No, I didn't vote for John Kerry. I
Al
would never vote
Gore.
for John Kerry. Yeah, I might have voted for Al Gore
Okay, all
first
right,
time. I
all
think
right,
so.
okay.
But
Well, I'm just
because
saying,
you know,
though.
I'm
Go
a
ahead.
I consider myself a Republican, but I liked um what the heck's his name, Clinton. You know, I
Okay,
voted for Clinton. I was a Clinton
okay.
guy. You know, I don't care about all this stupid stuff that went on. You know, in his office. I don't care for his wife, but as a president, I thought he was a pretty good president.
Let me ask you that question. That's a good point you made about you like Clinton, but didn't really care for his wife. Normally, when you run for office, you generally are tied to a person close to you. Like if Michelle Obama ran for office, people are going to bring up Trump. If Mike Pence ran for office, if he was on good standings, folks would have tied him to Trump. How do folks separate Hillary and Bill so much, whereas Bill has a overwhelmingly positive reputation and Hillary Clinton does not, even though Bill Clinton is the cheater and the one that got his dick sucked? How is it that Hillary Clinton has got the negative end of the stick? What did she do?
Well, I think Bill was more of a good old boy. He knew how to get things done and work with people. And Hillary is Hillary. I mean, we all know she doesn't. She is more political than Bill is. You know what I mean? Bill
What
had different.
about what about Angel? Angel in the comments saying that they don't like educated women. Is it possible that she's being viewed a certain way because she just happens to be female?
No, I think that's just something to use to against anybody that doesn't like her. You know what I mean? That's just a supporter that wants to. No, I think you find that even on the left side, you even see that there's a lot of people that just find her just a little too political, a little too
The
more for
reason I asked
herself.
that though, the reason I asked that though is there is no shortage of voters that have come out on camera, even some women, and have stated that America's not ready for a woman president. There are plenty of people that actually have said that on camera.
I think if you well, I think there is some truth to that because just whether it's right or wrong, I think people perceive a man is stronger. Whether that's right or wrong, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I think if you got the right person, that I think America would do it. Just like Obama, nobody ever thought we'd see a black
Yeah.
president. I mean, that nobody ever thought they'd see that, but it
I
happened.
expected him to
Why?
get shot.
Well, the thing is, the
I
reason,
thought he would get shot.
well, I think most people in at least in, I'm 52. Maybe the generation before me, I don't think that would ever happen.
No.
But I think, in my generation and generations since, we didn't grow up during the days, the stuff that, was happening in the 50s and 60s and probably the 70s, but I was too young to remember. I didn't really notice it, I guess. And, I'm sure some of it happens still today. We know it ain't perfect yet, but I think things have gotten better over time, and people don't necessarily, that's not a factor as much anymore. And I think though with Hillary, I think it's just she doesn't have the personality, and she's too much down to business and too political. She is so
But
political.
I thought MAGA liked business people. You're saying she's down to
No,
business.
I mean down to business, like the dirty politic business, not business. She don't know nothing about business. She's a politician, too much politician. And when I say
Okay.
down to
All right.
business, she ready to go get people. She get them on the other side. She got her hands in everything.
Yeah,
And
but
Bill,
wouldn't you say the same thing about Bill Clinton?
yeah, I would say yes, but he was a little smarter about it. You know what I mean? Bill come across, it's personality. People elect personality all the time. That's how they elect people. We elect them on
Yeah.
personality and name
Well, how
recognition.
do we get Trump? I mean, you think Trump's personality is electable?
I think Trump's personality got him elected. People, and
You
not
think it got
because
him
people.
unelected?
What's that?
You think his personality got him unelected too?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Fair point. Fair
But
point.
but my thing is that today with Cheney losing out in Wyoming, that's a Republican state, but
Yeah.
she lost big. That is a big loss. That should tell you, even though Wyoming's, not every state, but it's telling you where the conservatives' heads are. And
Yeah.
and I don't think it's a vote for Trump to vote her out. I think it's a vote.
Really?
No, I really don't. I think you and I think a lot of the support for Trump isn't necessarily for Trump. It's they show
Why do you
support
think Cheney lost?
because the January 6th commission. That's the only reason she lost. And
Eight
that's
out
not
of
because
10 8 out of 10 Republicans that went up against Trump, whether voting for his impeachment or being critical of him on January 6th, 8 out of 10 are either lost their jobs or had to retire. You don't think that is simply in defense of Trump that all of that's happening?
no,
You think they're all rhinos?
I think the reason the people voted him out is because it's the politics of it. The people are tired, and it's the only control they got. They can't control what happens on the other side, but they're sick and tired of these people going on the other side and voting for this stuff for politic reasons, not for true reasons. A lot of these people that
What
vote,
about Mike Pence?
Mike Pence, I'm not sure where he's at. He's been so quiet. But
His party does not like him. Why do you think his party does not like him anymore?
I don't think they ever truly liked him. I mean, they did. They supported him, but he never said much. I mean, does anybody really know anything about Mike Pence other than he's a real
He was the
straight-laced guy?
governor of Indiana. He
Yeah, of
obviously was
Indiana.
strong, just like Cheney was deep in Wyoming. He was deep in Indiana. He was a governor.
Yeah, he was a governor of Indiana, but if you're outside of Indiana, you didn't know who he was
Yeah,
till he was in the election.
yeah.
And
But
I will say, I don't think
the people
Pence
in
is a bad.
Indiana don't even like him anymore.
Yeah, well, and I think it's I don't know. That's a hard one because I don't think he's a bad guy as a person, but I think politically he is more in the political crowd, or that what I don't know how to explain it, but the with the Cheneys, the rhinos, and the
Okay,
keep the status quo.
other than Trump, who is not in the political crowd?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they all are.
That's the point I'm trying to make is that eventually you got to work with these people. You can't call everybody a rhino. They're all politicians.
From my side of the field, I think the person that really should step up and be and not drop out early this time is Rand Paul. I
Okay.
think Rand
Well, here's
Paul's.
the issue, though. You got 50 Republicans, 50 chances for Republicans to be senators or more. You got over 100 or a couple hundred chances for them to be Congress. You got to have more than one or two people here or there. You can't call the whole party rhinos and treasonous and traitors. I mean, you're
No,
going to
I'm just,
need these people once they get in office.
and I think you're seeing that you're getting more and more people on. It's not necessarily, Trump goes out and endorses them or whatever, and people vote for him. I don't, and right now I think Trump's getting more support, not because of he's Trump. I think it's because they see what's happening to Trump, so they want to push back at the people that are in office now and the FBI and everything else.
Yeah,
It is
but is he?
backfiring.
Yeah, but are the people they putting in power? Are they putting people in power because they believe those people are the most experienced to make this country great? Or are they putting them in because they are more favorable to Trump and believe the election was not held? I mean, Herschel Walker, Dr. Oz. I mean, are
I don't.
these leaders of the country?
I don't know about Dr. Oz. Herschel Walker, I think, will be a pretty smart guy, man. I think he'd do
He
pretty
doesn't
good.
even know if he went to college.
Uh, what's college? See, that's the thing. We don't have to go to college to be smart to run this. You know what?
Okay, I'm not. Okay, I'm not
This is
saying you have to go to college. I'm not saying you have to go to college. I'm saying you need to know if you actually went or not, though. You're gonna lie and say you went somewhere that you didn't go?
well, yeah. I don't know about that. See, I hadn't paid attention to that. I didn't hear that. But my thing is a person though. This is the thing. I think even if you go any politician, go local. Think about the local people around you, and everybody thinks that since they got elected, they got to be the smartest people they are. So they look for them for answers. But the truth is, if you really knew them people, they people just like me and you. They don't know how the system works until they get in there. And most people don't think that. So they think, well, we got to put the most educated or the lawyers. Look how many lawyers are involved in our government. Way too many. And that's why the
But
laws
here's
are written the way they are.
yeah, but here's my point. Elizabeth Warren lies about claiming to be Native American so she can go to college or whatever, law school, and they call her Pocahontas. I think Herschel Walker, I think did he lie about being a police officer? I mean, what's the nickname for him? Because he's
Uh,
clearly been caught lying about stuff as well. I'm just simply saying if the guy's career is starting on a lie, why would we want to put him in office when he's lying about something that is so trivial and easy to prove?
yeah, I don't know. I didn't know about that stuff.
Yeah.
I just hear this. That's not a race I pay attention to anyway. It really won't. I mean, I won't say it won't affect me, but it's not my local race, so I don't.
Well, dishonesty will affect you, wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, but name one of them
Okay.
out there that ain't dishonest. I don't care which side. They all are. Well, I say it all the time. They're all full of shit.
Yeah, and
And
I
you
agree with that they all are capable of lying, but you don't want to pick somebody that you can already prove. At least let me find out you lied later on. I don't want to get somebody that I can tell you're lying before I even cast a ballot for you. I mean, you ain't even got an office yet and you lying.
yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That makes
All right.
sense. It's any of them. But I
Okay,
just want
Jim.
to say with the Cheney that lost big today, don't you think that makes that shouldn't that tell the left or the Democrats that bad things might be coming?
Well, I will tell you this. It definitely proves that Trump has a significant impact on on the political atmosphere of this country, which is why I always go into callers who claim that we have Trump derangement syndrome and he's living rent free in our head and we can't stop talking about him. I'm like, this guy is a powerhouse. Of course, we're going to talk about him. But does it prove that Trump himself will be successful in 2024? I would say no, because in 2020, his endorsement also was highly sought after, and the Republicans in 2020 outperformed expectations as well, even though Trump lost that election. So they can
Yeah,
win and he can lose in the same atmosphere.
I believe the same thing. I don't think the Cheney loss today is necessarily a vote for Trump. It's a vote against the powers that be. Now, Trump is the reason that happens. Trump brings that on, but that's they keep going after Trump. That is hurting them. That is hurting them. Now, in the long run, I truthfully don't think that Trump. I guess it depends on who runs, because I don't think Biden will run, and I don't think Biden. I think things are so bad, and I don't think they're going to get any better. And just the fact that I think most Americans see that Biden's not fit to be in office. The guy's obviously got some mental problems.
I don't know if we're that far along, but Jim, I got to move it on, Jim.
Okay. All right, man.
All right, catch you later,
buddy.
All right. Good talk.
Before I go right back to the box, in regards to his comment that it wasn't Cheney's ouster, Liz Cheney being ousted. He stated that he don't believe that is a vote for Trump, but rather folks are tired of the establishment. I tend to disagree from this standpoint. I believe there is not one single Republican politician out there that Trump could not do the exact same thing to if he got pissed off with. Up to and including Ron DeSantis. I believe that if DeSantis ran afoul of Trump, Trump could get Ron DeSantis kicked out of office just like he did Liz Cheney. Because keep in mind, Liz Cheney, with her dad being the former vice president, they're deeply tied into the Republican Party. That is a deeply Republican, deep red state, Wyoming, and he found a way to get her out of there. In a state like Florida, there's a lot more diversity. There's a lot more Democrats and all of that. He found a way to get Liz Cheney kicked out of Wyoming by somebody a lot of people barely even hardly knew. So my guess is Trump could easily get any of those politicians that are on the Republican side kicked out. I mean, Mike Pence is gone. People don't look at Chris Christie the same way. John McCain essentially died in shame. Jeb Bush's career is completely over. And I'm naming Republicans that were highly respected, highly favored in the Republican Party. Hell, several of them I just named got the Republican nomination for president. Mitt Romney, John McCain, these are people that you guys are going to elect as president. And now they are completely ostracized from their political careers completely. So my guess is that Trump could do that to any Republican politician. So when he asked me what do I think what happened to Cheney means, it means that everybody is in support of Trump, and anybody Trump doesn't like, they don't like either. Going back to the box, Vass, friend of the program, frequent viewer. Good evening to you, Vass there.
You hear me?
Back to the box.
Good evening. What's on your mind, Vass?
Hey, they don't like Cheney because Trump told them not to. Period.
Yep. I think that's a very simplified way to put it. I agree with that 100%. If Trump told them not to like, it doesn't matter who it is. If Trump said don't like that person, they're not going to like that person.
If Trump said don't like God, they wouldn't like him. If Jesus came back right now, if Jesus came back right now and said, I am the way and the light, and Trump got up and said, no, he's not, they'd all say, no, you're not, you're a liar, and you're a rhino. They call Jesus a rhino. On God, they would do it. And they know they would. They're gonna say what I'm saying is crazy, but for real, that's exactly what they would do. It's
so
sad.
Rhino, religious in name only, huh?
Yeah, man. There you get there. See, they ready. They ready for whatever. If you're a Republican religion, they ready. I'm sorry. I feel sad. You know what? And I feel bad for old Liz Cheney, man. She's a good person. For real. She's just a person. She's a good person. But in this world, good people don't matter. It's how much of a follower and how much of a sheep you're gonna be. And the catch is they the ones calling everybody the sheep. They the sheep calling everybody else the sheep. And all they do is follow. That's all they
So
do is
let me
follow.
so let me ask you this though: Would Mike Pence volunteering to testify in regards to the January 6 hearings? Why is he doing that? Did I lose you, Vass? Vass, you hit mute on your device. Unmute yourself. Look it in the comments real quick. We love Trump here in the South. Oh yeah, he's highly favored in the South. Vass, if you can hear me, you are muted. Unmute.
I'll give you a few seconds to do that. If Trump told them to jump off the cliff and he would go last, they are gone. Wow. Liberal logic is a disease. Okay. Why do you think that liberal logic is? I'd love to have you in the box for that one. What about liberal logic is diseased? Let me look in the comments here. Okay, Vast, I don't know, you dropped out there. I'll bring in Twisted 77. We've spoken before.
I always bring up Twisted Sister and 80s track. We're not going to take it anywhere. Okay, Twisted 77.
Hey,
Good
Liberal, how
evening.
you doing?
I'm doing
I'm good.
good.
How
What's
you
up?
doing tonight?
Tom, it's a pleasure
Not
talking
much.
to you.
Oh, pleasure
So
talking to
what's on
you
your
too.
mind? What's on your mind
Well,
this evening?
what the last gentleman was saying, about what, Trump says it, everyone's going to do it. I don't agree
How do
with
you
that at
feel about
all.
that? You think there's any validity? You think there's any validity to what he was saying?
No, not at all. I mean, there's always
Okay.
going to be some people. I can't say that for everybody, but there's always going to be somebody that thinks that way. But the majority, no, I don't think so at all. And as far as Liz Cheney goes, why I think she lost, remember,
Yeah.
we elect these people to represent us, right? Our views,
Okay.
our
Right.
politics. I think she lost she wasn't representing the people of Wyoming anymore. They like Trump there. That's one of the biggest mega states, right? She
Okay.
voted against
But
him.
that okay, is it possible for you not to like Trump but still properly represent the Republican Party?
What do you mean?
I mean, can you
Sorry,
be a true blue? Can you be a true blue conservative in favor of promoting conservative ideals but not liking Trump? Do you have to like Trump
yeah.
to be a true conservative?
No, no, not at all.
Okay,
No,
so
I
is
don't
there
believe that.
any conservative? Is
You
there
don't
any
have to. You don't have to
conservative?
like Trump.
So is there any conservatives you can think of that have been critical of Trump that have not been called a rhino or kicked out of the party?
Not off the top of my head, but I don't know every conservative. I don't know everybody that went
Okay,
against him as far as that goes. I
but
think
you do
those
know a lot
when
of them that
when
have
I
went
call
against
somebody
him.
a absolutely, but I also know
Yeah.
a lot of these same people are also career politicians. And I, for
That,
one, I don't
what
know about
just
you,
did
but
that? What was that? Somebody just put a box in it.
I
Oh
don't know what
man,
that was.
thank you for that. Go ahead. I just saw that pop up there. Wow. Go ahead.
A
I
lot of these
don't see
people are
stuff
career
like that very
politicians.
often.
But, but I don't know about you. I, for one, I'm sick of career politicians. Sick of them. I'm tired of these people being there
Then,
30, 40 years.
yeah, but
Look
you're
at all these
not gonna.
geriatric people deciding what, huh?
Yeah, but everybody out there is that. I mean, what are you going to do? You can't Trump. The Trump is a businessman that did not have any political experience. There's very few of
Correct.
him. You're not going to run the country hoping that everybody is a Trump type person.
I'm not saying that everybody needs to be a Trump type person. What I'm saying is, just like a lot of people that support Trump, support term limits too for Congress.
Yeah,
Because these people are in there
yeah,
too long. They're coming in, they're in their entire lives, 30, 40 years, and they're coming out rich. They go in there
yeah. But
broke and
would
they come out
you?
rich. I don't like that.
But
That's
okay,
suspicious to me.
yeah. But if these most of these folks who are getting involved in the Congress and Senate in particular, most of them are doing very well in the private sector. If there was no money in it, they wouldn't do it. You want people who are experienced, who are successful, like Trump. You view Trump as a successful businessman. There has to be something in it, otherwise, these people would never do this. So you want them to come in. You don't want them to get rich. You don't want them to be there very long because you want term limits. You're going to kill all the incentives for most of them to even do it.
No, no. And I see what I think is you're going to get people that want to do it because they love their country, because they want to do right by it, not because there's something in it for them. Because it was never supposed to be that. It was supposed to be for people to go in and do right by their country, do right by their people,
I would
not for their
submit
own
to
benefit.
you, I get your point, but I would submit to you that there is so much money to be made in politics that even if you do get into it for all the right reasons, I mean, money just finds you. You know, if you believe in big energy, or let's say you get into politics and you already believe that we're not ready to get off fossil fuels. And then you have other folks that believe we need to go to electric energy or electric cars and shit. You're going to have the big energy people just willing to donate money to you just to vote what you already was going to do anyway. There is so much money that's thrown at you. It's almost impossible to become a U.S. politician on a national level and not get rich.
I agree with you there, but I also think at the same time is that we should have term limits. I think that we should get rid of all lobbyists. Lobbyists shouldn't exist. These companies shouldn't be giving money to our politicians and swaying the vote for themselves. That shouldn't happen,
Without
right?
lobbyists, without lobbyists, you wouldn't have Second Amendment rights all over America because the NRA has done a substantial amount to maintain your gun rights. Without the NRA, you wouldn't have Second Amendment rights like you do.
No, we have the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court.
I don't need the NRA. I don't need the NRA. We have the Supreme Court. We have the Second Amendment. I don't need the NRA. I don't support the NRA. I don't give them money. I don't care about the NRA.
Well, you look at places like Chicago and LA and things like that. They've already, even with a Supreme Court, were able to impose some serious gun legislation. So if you didn't have the NRA fighting on your behalf, I don't think the Supreme Court alone would be able to save you.
Maybe, but those same places that have all those strict gun laws, are their crime rates going down or are they going up?
I don't. That's a good question. That's a good question. I'm from Chicago. No, they're not. But I would also submit to you places that do have very liberal gun rights where you can easily own a gun. They're not better off either. I would tell you this. It doesn't matter if you can own a gun. Crime doesn't depend on whether you can own a gun or not. It really doesn't, because there are plenty of places where there's no shortage of guns in Texas or Florida, and there's plenty of murders happening in those states too.
Sure. I'm not saying there's not. But what I'm saying is where the strictest gun laws are, that's where the most crime happens. The most murders happen in those places.
That's actually not true.
And that's verifiable. You can look that up.
Well, if you look it up, you'd find that the murder capital of the country right now is St. Louis. And there's no gun laws in St. Louis. That's the murder capital of the country.
There's no gun laws, not one.
Yeah, nothing. Just like you would go to Texas or Florida. You can get a gun in St. Louis.
I'd have to fact check you on that because I don't know about that. I know Chicago's bad, and they got some of the strictest gun laws in the country.
And I will tell you this in regards to Chicago being from there and their strict gun laws. In America, it's so easy to get a gun that we view any hindrance towards getting a gun as strict. If you go to Chicago, you would find that it only takes legally about a week or so to get a gun. It's tougher to get a gun in Chicago than say in Texas or Florida, but you can get a handgun in Chicago legally. It just takes a few more hurdles, but it's not that difficult to get a handgun legally in Chicago.
Okay, now you're from Chicago. What's the nickname for Chicago?
Yeah. Say that again.
What is the nickname for it? The nickname of Chicago's nickname. Chirac,
Windy City.
Right? They don't call it Chirac for a reason, right? Well, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That doesn't happen in other places. That doesn't have the same laws.
Well, what I'm telling you though is that you can easily get a gun in Houston, and there's no shortage of murders there. Baton Rouge is extremely violent. In Louisiana, there's no gun laws in Louisiana. I'm telling you that there are most of the places that are in the top 10. If you look up the top 10 murder cities in America, I don't even think Chicago's in the list. It's a lot of them southern cities that you can get a gun in. Look up the top 10 places in America for murder. for firearms
But we're also
studies. And
talking.
you'll be
But we're also
go ahead.
talking about population. We're also talking about population density, though. There's a
Well,
difference when you got 1 million people together in 10 square miles versus 100 square miles.
well, my only point is if having a gun versus a place like Chicago where it's stricter to get a gun, if that matters, the gun deaths in cities where you can get a gun should be noticeably less, and they're not. You should hear people in Texas saying we don't hardly have any robberies of gun deaths here compared to Chicago. They're not saying that because it's pretty violent here.
I I respectfully disagree. I say there are
Okay.
less gun deaths, less gun deaths where there are less gun laws. But that's me. That's my
Okay.
belief. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm not gonna. I don't have the facts in front of me to look it up or to counter you, so I can't. I
Okay.
just
Well,
like
and I would
my
I would
whole argument.
invite you to do. It's fair. I would invite you to do that in your free time. You're always welcome back if we ever talk again. That way, you could throw it back at me. If I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, then you can show me. But I will tell you, just look up the top 10 U.S. cities for gun crimes and homicides, and you'll be amazed at that list. It's probably a lot of states where they don't have tough gun laws at all. But go ahead.
But my whole point with that was, I don't need the NRA. I don't need lobbyists. We don't need lobbyists. You know, it just adds to the corruption of our government. It shouldn't exist. And the longer
Yeah.
those people are there, the more chance they have to be corrupted if they're not. That's why term limits are important.
Well, I don't think we're going to ever get term limits, though. Trump was probably one of
Well,
the strongest proponents of term limits, and we didn't move an inch towards getting them during his 4 years. Not 1 inch did we move closer to that, and he was the strongest one in favor of that. And he did absolutely not. I don't even think he proposed a single bill, a single piece of legislation aiming towards term limits. So if
well,
he can't get
that's
it done, it's not
because
going to get done.
you're assuming we have to go through Congress. We can amend the Constitution. We can have a Confederation States, or you know,
I'm just assuming that leadership starts at the top. If you are holding rallies, allowing your people to yell out term limits, I would expect that you are at least trying to adhere to what they're asking. And I don't see any evidence that it's just like with the lock her up with Hillary Clinton. You're letting these people yell out lock her up, but then when you look at what he did like you didn't even perform an investigation on this woman. There was zero chance. Your audience is yelling that you need to lock this woman up. You promised to do it when you were debating her, and you did essentially nothing. Not you didn't move one iota towards locking her up or even holding her under an investigation. Why you let
okay.
them yell this out?
Well, people yell out whatever they want, but I can answer that to a point.
Sure,
If
go.
he would have, would that not be him? Would you not consider that him weaponizing the DOJ against political opponents?
Do you think he cared how we felt about that?
I'm not asking you how he cared about that. Would you consider that weaponizing the DOJ?
I think we accused him of that anyway.
I'm not asking you what he accused him of. I'm asking a simple question. If
If
he had
if I
directed the
saw
DOJ
no
to go
no
after, if if he had directed the DOJ to go after Hillary Clinton, would we not consider that him weaponizing the DOJ, just like we consider Biden weaponizing the DOJ to go after Trump,
yeah,
or
we
as it
we
has,
we
as
said
it,
that. We actually did say he was
and
weaponizing the DOJ. He didn't care nothing about that.
I didn't see him weaponizing the DOJ.
But we accused him of
If
it,
they
and he
did,
didn't give a shit about us saying it.
well, they accuse him of everything under the sun. And I think that's why
Right.
you're having a problem now with people saying, well, I don't believe anything because you cry wolf so many times. And then what? Now you want me to believe? You want me to believe the
No,
same
no. My
FBI
question to you is,
that
so you're telling me the only reason he didn't go after Hillary Clinton is because he didn't want to be accused of weaponizing the DOJ?
no, I'm saying he didn't weaponize the DOJ.
Why didn't he go after Hillary Clinton?
I'm saying he did not direct the DOJ to do that because he did not
Why?
weaponize the DOJ against political opponents. They
So
accused him of it 1,000 times over, but he didn't do it because if he had weaponized the DOJ, then they would have gone after Hillary.
So
Wouldn't you
he
agree?
clearly has a member of the elite American political system that he believes has committed a serious offense against the country, and he decides not to go after her because it's weaponizing the DOJ. Why did he go after her?
Well, it is because the
Yeah, but
DOJ is supposed to be separate, right?
it's a legitimate use. If you know somebody committed a crime and you are the party of law and order, don't you go after that person?
That's not. He's not responsible for telling the DOJ to who to go after. He's responsible for appointing the director of the DOJ, and they're supposed to do their job, right?
You know,
He's not supposed to.
it's
If he
his
if
DOJ. So
It doesn't
if
matter
what
if
you're
it's his
saying is
DOJ.
true,
He is not the top prosecutor. He is not the one who decides who they go after. He
okay.
appoints the person. They do the job.
Okay, so based on what you're saying, when he whispered in Hillary Clinton's ear, if I become president, you'd be in jail. What did he mean then?
How the hell should I know? I'm not Donald Trump. I can't speak his mind. But you keep going back to that, and I don't really care about Hillary. Honestly, I don't.
I get
She's a
it, but he
non-person to
said
me.
it. I'm
But
just trying to
we keep
hold the
talking
man to
about it.
what he said. Why did he say
Well,
that? If he has no power to arrest her, it's not his job to do it. Why would he get on stage and say that?
why would Kamala Harris get on stage
Okay,
and say the joke?
well,
Well, hold on. I know I know what you're going to say. It's a whataboutism, but it's the same damn thing. Why did Kamala
yeah.
Harris get on stage, call Biden a racist to his face, and then become his vice president? And then when they were asking her about it, she said, "Well, it was a debate. Who cares, right?" I'm not deflecting,
Well,
guys.
well,
I'm
I
saying
can answer
it's
the
the same
question. I
thing.
can answer the question of. I'm going to answer the question of a bit more direct than you. She lied. Period. That's the answer for Trump too. It's they lied. It's all of the other stuff you were saying.
Wow.
Kamala Harris lied. I don't mind saying that on the liberal side. When Trump
And
said
I
that
don't
if
mind.
Hillary Clinton, when he said if he's elected, she's going to be in jail. It's safe to just simply say he lied about that. There was no
Okay, then I'll say
intention
he
of
lied
making
about
that
it.
happen.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Donald J. Trump is a perfect man. He's not anything, not even close. Does he lie? Of course he lies. Everybody lies.
Okay,
Okay,
there you go.
that's not even a
I can work
question.
with that. I can work with that. All right, look, I got to move it on, man. I just realized we've been chatting. Always a good talk, but I got some folks in the box. I
All
love
right, man.
talking to you,
Good
man.
talking to
Anytime
you.
you welcome back. All right, catch you later.
Later.
Okay.
Is what does that say? Win something about Hunter Biden. I look handsome, look folks. I just need to find 11,000 votes. I don't know if Trump's going to go down for the 11,000 votes issue, but it looks like Giuliani is, and they've made it clear that they're targeting him. And Giuliani does not have any of the protections of President Trump. Whereas they're not going to trust shit coming out about Trump. They're going to doubt anything the FBI or any Justice Department says about President Trump. Nobody gives a shit about Rudolph Giuliani. They might say, yeah, they're railroading him, but at the end of the day, nobody cares. Nobody's going to show up and protest on behalf of Rudolph Giuliani and let his ass get locked up in a minute. And if he decides to say anything negative about Trump while he's in jail to try to get out, then they'll just simply say he's selling out to get out early. Giuliani is in trouble, period. Going back to the box. Marquell Foster, I believe this is
Not a problem. Good to talk to you, Marquell. Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. What's on your mind?
So I've talked to you before. I sway to the red side, but as
Okay.
I'm going on through life, I'm starting to see that there is no side for me. We're gonna have to start meeting in the middle, and
What
I
what
don't.
what gave you that? What gave you that epiphany? What makes you decide to kind of go into no side land?
Uh, First of all, my hometown. Like you said, I have two A towns that I grew up in, and I also have blue city council towns, and both of them are now experiencing the same hardships at the same time, and nothing's being done because we have career politicians from the top all the way down to the bottom of the beard, and no one is really for the people anymore. I think they just throw us treats like we're at SeaWorld to keep us quiet and at bay. But really, at the end of the day, we have career politicians all the way around. And until we meet in the middle and start actually really pushing towards the reset, we're going to fall together.
What about Trump? What about Trump? He's not a typical politician. You think he's more along the lines of being for the people?
I think Trump came out in a systematic way. He had a plan. I don't originally think Trump was a red person, but he knew that that was the easier crowd to persuade. And I'm red.
Oh,
So I think
okay.
it's easier crowd to persuade. Anybody that paid attention in the Obama era knew that if I was going to run to be the next president, I couldn't run blue. I had to run on the other side. He came in with purple agendas, and when everybody held his feet to the fire, he turned his agendas red. It's he's a
You're,
politician.
you're painting Trump as an opportunist, to be honest with you.
He's absolutely an opportunist. And I'm red. He's an opportunist. That's what we
Wow.
have. That's what we have going into the system now. If you think about it, the man really pushed a lot of Bible verses that he misquoted Bible verses, and that's you. They can look
Wait a
that up.
minute. Give me an example of that. I didn't know. Give me
There
an
are
example
several.
of that.
I don't have the specifics, but if you go and look, you can find several times he quoted Bible verses that were wrong, which led me to believe anybody that was coming in and being being red, and they come from basically the Southern Baptist background. You better know that Bible before you get up there and start spitting out verses, and then you getting it wrong. And
I agree
and
with
then
that.
we got played. I saw my family get played with Camilla Harris, who came in, who did not claim to be an African American woman fully in college. She took the opportunities that were given to her in college and did her sororities, and then she came out with the pearls and chucks. I see all of my women in my family wearing pearls and chucks and pushing her in the office, and they haven't done anything for us yet. They haven't showed us what they said they were going to do.
Wow. So I can see where you would definitely be in the middle. You've seen your share of, I guess you'd say, lying and conniving politicians. Then, so for 2024, if you could have your wish, Markwell, who would you prefer to see us through in the future? I mean, I'm assuming. What do you think about Biden? Are you a Biden fan at all?
Not at all. I don't even think Biden is calling his shots on his own. He's in office, and it's scary, but I think he's in office to just keep the machine running. I think the machine, all of the parts are breaking, and we have no replacements, no pun intended, because you know how we having a crisis right now with getting things
Yeah.
that we need. But the machine is smoking, and in order for us not to really not to pay attention to it, they keep him in office. They keep him making moves. I heard the last guest say we have the Supreme Court. We don't have the Supreme Court. If they had it their way without lobbying, we wouldn't have 2A. And I can admit to that. We would not have 2A. They would do away with that on two
You think
aspects as
you
far
think
as
the Supreme Court? Wait a minute. You think the Supreme Court with a 6-3 majority on the Republican side would get rid of 2A rights?
absolutely. And I tell you why, because of the inner city community and the problems that we're having inside the inner city community and the accessibility to those kids getting firearms. Now, they're not getting firearms through straw sales like it's led to believe. They're getting these firearms that have never been to a store. They are coming straight from the streets into the households of young black men and
Hold
young
on, wait,
Hispanic.
wait a minute, wait a minute. Hold on. The street itself does not make guns. Where does the street get its guns from?
The street. That is the question that we can't discuss on this camera. Let's get this
Yeah,
shut
we
down.
can.
But
Yeah, we can. Let me give you my spiel, and you can tell me where I'm wrong on this. Because I
Okay.
hear this all the time. I hear folks all the time say, if you ban guns, a criminal will always be to get his hands on a gun on the street. What they never answer is, where does a street get his guns? My particular analysis is this. Most of the guns on the street, when the cops take guns out of the hands of criminals, most of these guns can be traced back to an American that once owned them legally, whether it's a pawn shop, a gun store, somebody who left it in their car, or an abandoned home. But the street overwhelmingly gets its guns from people who own them legally. And that's what they don't want to tell you, is that they want to stop it at, if you ban guns, a criminal always be able to get his hands on a gun on the street, because the street is a nefarious element. They don't want to tell you that in reality, it is legal gun owners at the top of the pyramid supplying all of the bad guys with their guns. Now, there's some folks who get guns that are smuggled into the country, but overwhelmingly, most of the guns that are taken from criminals come from people who once owned that gun legally. And I say it this way: the primary way a criminal gets a gun in America is by either buying, finding, or stealing it from somebody who owned it legal. The legal folks, yeah, they're supplying all of the bad element with their weapons. That's where they're coming from. That's where the street gets their guns from. It's legal gun owners.
I have to agree to disagree. There is a percentage of firearms that do come from the act of stealing, or they break in a home and they find one that's not locked up. There's a small percentage. There's another percentage, these firearms, that do reach the streets before they ever hit a store, and it's not straw sale. COINTELPRO has never ended. It has never ended. The reason why we
What
have
you
the
said? What did he? What did you say? What did not end?
COINTELPRO has never stopped.
What is that?
That is the infiltration of drugs and firearms into the inner city communities to destabilize them. That has never
Okay.
stopped.
But where
The
did the gun? Okay, if the gun is not coming from a legal gun owner, where is the
Mhm.
street getting it from? The street
uh,
does not make guns. Where is the
so I don't.
street getting that gun from?
So in the news, and this is factual because I know a lot of people who are from uh, Mexico, but I don't know if you've been reading, but these Mexican cartels are taking over cities close to our borders. Uh, we
Okay.
have we have manufacturing companies in South America with firearms. One of the ones that has moved there was Taurus, I believe. And these firearms, along with all of the other foreign firearms, which is the Draco, which is one of it was an inexpensive 7.62 firearm that is now hot on the street, selling for more than $1,500. Now they're having rappers rap about them. They're having rappers
Yeah, but
pose with.
most gun
Yeah.
crimes are not being done with long rifles, Dracos, and AK-40. Most of that stuff is being done with pistols.
And those pistols, I know it sounds crazy, but if we do the research, most of these pistols are not stolen. That's why when you ever see these crimes and they catch these people, wouldn't you? If I was a blue state, right? If I was a blue person and I busted these crimes and I saw these crimes happen and we took the guns and we ran the registry, why don't they ever say, these firearms were used in this crime by a legal owner who lost their guns or did this or had their stuff stolen, and this is why we need to do this? You never hear that because those firearms are being allowed to be sold to these
Oh, I
kids. And
believe that. I, I,
yeah.
I totally believe that we know we have a gun issue. But I will say this: with America being
Mhm.
the largest maker and exporter of firearms in, at least certainly in North America and in this hemisphere, it seems kind of odd that all of its criminals are holding guns from other countries. We're the ones that's making all of the guns in this on this side of the planet. But for some reason, all of our criminals have guns from Mexico and South Africa. That makes sense to you?
Because okay, that goes back to NAFTA. That goes back to where my father lost his job, and we moved all of the jobs to Mexico and all these other places. See, we manufacture the stuff here. We put them together. Yes, okay, they come from America because we put them together here. The parts are made in other places. So it's not solely the fault of the United States that there are so many firearms that are out there that are doing things. We don't even have the capability to make our own stuff here anymore. And with that being said, going on with that, because we could go on forever about firearms, but I don't, that's the only thing red people know how to go back to. And I'm red, but I don't want to.
Okay, well, this is the only point I will say is this. In my opinion, and I guess I'm wrong, and I'm fine with folks. If folks think I'm wrong, let me know. Maybe I am, but I'm under the impression that when it comes to the Mexican border, they give us drugs, we give them guns. Now, some of those guns that we give them are brought back here and used in America, but absolutely, those guns are originating in the United States. Is Mexico a really big maker and exporter of guns? I mean, do they make firearms like that down there?
South America does. Mexico is a bridge of everything that happens in the United States. It used to be okay when we were manufacturing things here. Yes, we were the supplier. They don't need us anymore. No one's using. Really, no one is. Honestly, no one's doing crimes with American-made firearms. Glock, not made here. You have the AKs, which are not made here. Any of those weapons, they're not made and manufactured here. Mexico, hot weapons are not coming from off our streets. Hot weapons are shipped in and given to mostly, and it starts with cartel members. These cartel members are in cahoots with their other members. I mean, I don't want to keep naming all these folks, but they're here in
So
our
you
state.
believe so you believe that the average criminal, if he's out there committing a drive by robbing a liquor store or something, and the police sees the gun from him, the chances
Yes.
are highly likely that that gun was never in the hands of a legal gun owner in America, but rather came here internationally.
100%. There was a store that closed here. There was called Cheaper Than Dirt in Texas. Any of my Texians that are in here, that was the hub for getting everything you wanted firearm. You know why that place closed? It closed because of the scandal of firearms through Obama's presidency. I can't remember what happened. What was it called? It slips the top of my head. But basically, these guns were used and allowed to be sold to cartels. And basically, they said to track them to see, where firearms are going and this and that. But they were shipped. They weren't manufactured here. They were shipped to cartels and they were allowed to go. That was thousands upon thousands of firearms. It was Fast and Furious. Yes, you're right. There it is. Fast and Furious put guns out in the street, guns in the inner city. If you go do the research, Chicago reached its peak during
That's
Fast and
still
Furious.
all, in my opinion, that's still legal gun owners, though. I mean, if you trace those guns from Fast and Furious, you go to the top of the pyramid, it's a legal person owning it. I mean,
No,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But they weren't, not in Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious came from manufacturer to store to street. There was never a sale to a person. It was manufacturer. They had to ship them to the businesses. The businesses never put them out to the floor to be sold. They were automatically given to the organized crime leaders. Those people sent them to their people, and those people sold them to other people. And that they
Okay.
never street. And this was allowed to happen. So if it was allowed to happen to destabilize communities, and the problem what I see now is that the same destabilization that happened in our blue counties and cities are happening in our red counties and cities in the same exact horrible way. And that's why we're
Right.
going to have a meeting in the middle, or we're going to all fall together, because there is no career politician that's going to step down in my town and say, hey, we need to stop the violence.
All right, I don't think we're ready to meet in the middle yet, but I hope you get your wish. I hope we all get your wish. Marquel, I got to move it on, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you,
Appreciate
bro.
it.
Yes.
Good talk. Good talk. And we can, like I said,
always have to agree. That's not the goal. The goal is to have civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle, because I strongly believe they're not doing that in Washington, which is kind of what he just suggested, meeting in the middle. That's what we're doing here in a very little tiny corner of social media. We're making it work. So if we can make it work, they can make it work on a larger scale. But yeah, my viewpoint, and living on the south side of Chicago for a large portion of my life, I have a hard time believing that all of that shit that I've seen going around all originated in another country. I certainly think that plenty of people who own guns get their houses broken into, their cars broken into, and they get weapons stolen. Not to mention, when I was in Chicago with the tough gun laws, you know what they used to do? Folks would go over to Indiana, purchase a bunch of weapons, and then come and sell them in Chicago for a higher price. A legal gun owner would go somewhere where they could buy a lot of weapons legally and come to an area where they could not get them, or sell them to someone who normally could not get them. Because remember, in a lot of states, having a Second Amendment means you have the right to purchase a firearm. Nobody keeps tally on how many you have. So if you go out and buy 100 guns and next week you only got 20, nobody's going to come to your house and ask you where those 80 went. You're not going to get questioned until they may start getting seized or caught up, or somebody can trace them back to you, assuming that the numbers are available for folks to even find that out. But yeah, there were plenty of folks who would make Chicago a gun heavy area, which is why people say, well, if gun laws are so strict in Chicago, why do everybody have guns? Well, because there's a hell of a lot of legal gun owners helping that happen. They're not all driving down to Laredo or El Paso to get a shipment of guns from Mexico. A lot of legal gun owners from other states are coming into Illinois and selling that shit. All right, going back to the box, and that is the gun show loophole, I believe, that they talk about a lot of times also. What is that? Says just noob legal and sell illegal. I wouldn't do that. What if they murder and trace back? Using 156, everything you do illegally could potentially get traced back. But if you can sell an AK for 5-10 times the price, there are people who are willing to do that. Just noob, good evening.
Good evening. You're my second favorite liberal.
Who's the first? I want to know that.
It's Tulsi. She's so much prettier than you, man.
Yeah, okay. I can work with that. I'm not a Tulsi fan, but I can work with that. What's on your mind tonight?
That's because she may as well be on. She may as well be on the right for all her policies and for what she says.
Yeah, she definitely would not be welcomed in the just like she would be like Liz Cheney. She is a politician without a party.
That's exactly fair.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I vote for her in a heartbeat. I don't care what. Yeah. I don't care what number or what letter she has behind her name. I vote for her in a heartbeat because I like her, and I'm a staunch conservative. But like the last. I say I'm a staunch conservative. I'm not a staunch MAGA, and I don't I understand how you throw MAGA around, but I don't appreciate it, and I get it, but I feel
Tell me what I'm getting wrong. What am I getting wrong?
Well, I just feel like it leaves a lot of people that would fall in line with a lot of the things that you would maybe be alluding to, but I feel like it leaves a lot of us out in the cold because I don't feel like a lot of Tulsi for VP in the comments 100%.
That ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna
regardless, happen. I don't care who's the president. Tulsi for VP 100%.
That ain't gonna.
It's probably not.
Good luck with it.
But I just feel like it leaves a lot of us out in the cold. I don't feel like necessarily we're the vast majority of us. I don't think we're as ideologically driven. I feel like there's a big centrist type of, whether it's independents or conservatives or even Democrats, that have some type of issue with the things that are going on, whether it's on the right side or the left side. I feel like there's a big
but are you
portion.
talking MAGA or you're talking centrist? Are you talking MAGA or are you talking to some other group?
Well, that's the issue that I have with it. I feel like when you throw out the term MAGA, you're defining anybody that may have favorable things about Trump that they like and grouping them in with that party. If you supported Trump, then you're automatically MAGA.
No,
Do
and
you understand how the
well,
two can be conflated?
Liz Cheney supported Trump. Liz Cheney supported Trump. So let's be clear that if it sounds like I'm saying it that way, then that's absolutely not true because Liz Cheney and Mike Pence and all of them supported Trump, and they clearly are not MAGA.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like it's such a loose term that I don't think, and I have a problem with labels in general, but I just feel like it's such a loose term that I feel like it can be applied to so many things. And like, you may say it and someone interprets it one way, and it may not be the same way that you interpret it, or you may say it may be exactly the same way that someone interprets it. But I feel like there's so much gray area there that, like, when we throw around these terms that we think, I don't think we're being specific enough.
Let me see if I can offer you some clarity. I believe that a Republican can also be MAGA. They may support DeSantis or someone, but they may also see at any given time that Trump is a better person. So a Republican can be MAGA. However, MAGA is going to support Trump. So MAGA cannot be Republican. If you get another candidate up there that's Republican, but Trump is running against him, MAGA is going to go with Trump. So that's why I draw the line, and it maybe seems like I'm putting them in some type of a fishbowl, is because MAGA is pro-Trump, period. Doesn't matter what here's another way I would put it.
No, if I could interject real quick, that's a very helpful distinction that you just made, because if by that definition, I would 100% not be MAGA. But like,
and nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's the point I'm trying to make, is that the Republican Party, just like when the Tea Party was running against Obama, the Joe the Plumber days, the Tea Party, just like the Republican Party, they are based on fundamentals. They have certain principles: Second Amendment, pro-life, pro-Christianity. They have certain tenets, core tenets that make Republicans, conservatives, who they are. MAGA does not have principles. MAGA is based on Trump. So, and what I mean by that is, if Trump has a policy or a tenet that he favors, MAGA's going to favor that. If Trump changes his mind and decides, I want to go this way now, MAGA is going to change their mind and go with him. The Republican Party's not going to do that. If Republicans, if you start saying you're anti-Christianity, the Republican Party is not going to follow you in that direction. MAGA will follow Trump wherever he goes, which leads to the issue of, if something happens to Trump, let's say he is mentally unable to run, he passes away or decides to get out of politics, there really is no replacement for him. Whereas there are replacements for conservatives and Republicans, because they all tend to fall in line on the same principles. Trump is a one-off.
I think you're way off base.
Okay. How so?
Like, I understand what you're saying, but you're ultimately saying MAGA equals definition of will support Trump no matter what.
Yeah. I do believe that. I believe that. I said this earlier in the broadcast. What happened to Liz Cheney, where she ran afoul of Trump and everybody voted against her?
Yep.
I think Trump could do that to any Republican right now out there, any senator, any congressperson. If somebody says something negative of Trump, I don't care how long you've been in the Republican Party. Take Jeb Bush or John McCain. He could crush anybody out there. MAGA would go with him over anyone.
I think that's a gross mischaracterization and highly offensive. And just from where I'm coming from, I think it's highly offensive.
Give me an example of a Republican that's spoken critical of Trump and MAGA did not crush that person and say they're a rhino and kick him out the party.
Just let me finish my thought real quick, and then I'll respond to your question. Just like, I think it's a gross mischaracterization and offensive to the people that hold the views that they hold, to say that a particular individual, regardless of the individual, I understand why you're saying it, because there is like a phenomenon going on right now in the country, and I get it. Like, I'm not blind to what's happening, but I think there are a lot of people out there like me that are somewhat principled, and as long as the views align within those principles to a certain spread, and there's a degree of error on either side, that they are relatively comfortable, and you don't see those people necessarily going out and fighting on the front lines because they're okay considering themselves MAGA, as long as, or what you would consider MAGA. Like, I wouldn't consider myself MAGA at all, given your definition. Like, that's
Okay,
not me
that's
whatsoever.
fine.
But
That's
like,
fine.
I would consider myself conservative, and I would still vote in a particular way, as long as actions still aligned with what I considered okay to vote for. But like, I feel like there's a lot of people that you might necessarily consider MAGA that would absolutely retract their support given certain circumstances. Like, we've had, like, for example, Ben Shapiro. Would you consider him like crazy right?
Yeah, I certainly would not see him as an independent or a liberal. Yeah, I would see him as a right
Yeah,
winger.
yeah, I do too. He's crazy right, but he's given some really, really strong critiques. If you've listened to his podcast, he's given him, Trump, really strong critiques, and he doesn't agree with Trump. And he's pointed out on his podcast on numerous occasions, like, where he absolutely destroys Trump and points out that he's an idiot on numerous occasions, and why he's an idiot and why he shouldn't have done what he did.
Yeah,
Like,
but you're talking about a
those,
commentator. And culture does that. I'm talking about a politician. Now, give me a politician, and there's hundreds of Republican politicians that have spoken out against Trump, and they didn't suggest that that person was a rhino and kick him out of the party.
so let's be clear. Like, when we're talking about politics is a game, and when we're talking about like commentary and opinions, like, you don't think politics is a game? You looked at me like you didn't agree.
I don't. Just go ahead. I'm still trying. I'm digesting it. Go ahead.
I think politics is a game. Like, how
All
else
right.
can you explain it, man? It's crazy.
Okay. All
It's
right.
got to be a game.
It's a competition. I get your point. It's a competition.
Yeah, it's like a big competition between like who can win, and that seems to be
Okay.
ultimately the driver of behind everything. Like, if this will serve your purpose ultimately in the long run, we're willing to compromise on this. We don't really care about that. Like, it's a big game of like, if I can come out on top, okay. If I can't come out on top, then my opponent is absolutely evil and they're the demon. So like, in
Okay,
that
but
sense,
I'm not quite sure your answer. What I'm asking you, give me a Republican politician, and there's been a lot of them
no,
that have
I
spoken
mean,
out against
I don't
Trump and
have,
were not referred to
no,
as a rhino.
I'll be completely clear. I don't have a specific example of a politician that has disagreed or criticized, or not necessarily criticized, because a lot of like politicians have criticized, but like specifically came out and stood against. I'm not
What?
saying that MAGA
But,
itself as a movement doesn't have power behind it. That's not what I'm saying. I agree with
but
you that
okay,
the
but here's what I'm
MAGA movement.
saying. Okay, here's what I'm saying. When you're saying you can't really think of anybody specific, we can easily, you and I, come up with a load of politicians that have spoken out against Trump, from the Liz Cheney's on down. But when it comes to coming up with one that has spoken out against Trump and has not been kicked out of the party, suddenly we're hesitating, which makes it clear that speaking out against Trump gets you punished. That's the point I'm trying to make.
So is your problem with them being reprimanded or being viewed down upon, or is the problem with them with the actions that come behind it?
No, that's a good question. My problem is this: how can you have a person that you considered highly respected, well loved in your own party? When I mean, I'm talking about the Jeb Bushes, the John McCains, folks like that, and all they do is have to run afoul of Trump, and now all of a sudden they're the biggest loser on earth. I mean, John McCain, how long has he been respected within the Republican Party? In fact, literally all of the living Republicans that have either been president or received the Republican presidential nomination, whether it's John Kane, Mitt Romney, George Bush, all of them have now been, for the most part, called rhinos and ostracized away from the Republican Party simply for running afoul of Trump. All of them had lengthy records of being well respected by Republicans.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Let's say that, like, if the status quo was a status quo for a period of time, and everybody that met that status quo was respected. I think that's a fair assertion, right?
Okay. All right.
So if the status quo shifts and people don't shift along with it, and those people then have the reasons that they're no longer part of the current status quo brought to light, and then they're ostracized because of that, does that have any impact?
Yeah, but the status quo didn't shift. It's just Trump. The status quo didn't shift. The only thing that changed was Trump.
That's what I'm saying. The status quo was never pointed out. If you have areas within these people that were never brought to light before, and then there was a light shine on these areas within these individuals, and people were able to realize, hey, maybe this person doesn't align in the same way that we thought they did align, and it was never shown to us before in such a clear manner. Maybe
every single politician that criticized Trump suddenly has a light shown over him, and we see him in a certain. I mean, it's pretty clear. The thing that we're being shown about this politician is that they don't like Trump.
Yeah, let's not point it in such a broad point of view. I'm speaking specifically in, like, theoretically. I'm not specifically talking to any particular individual. I'm just saying that if there was a politician that everybody liked because he was in the party, everybody thought he believed a certain way, he got along to get along, there was no problem, and then all of a sudden there was a confrontational issue that arose, and they were forced to make a stance on an opinion, or they were forced to have, like, a delineating factor arise between whether or not X was the case or Y was the case. Like, politicians hate X or Y. Like, if you can avoid X or Y, you can keep as many people on your side as possible. Like, right? That's politics. We can agree on that.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. I'm not following you really clearly. Go ahead. Let me see if I can get what you're saying.
Basically, my point is that if you have a divisive politician or a divisive individual that's not a politician, that's thrust into politics, that forces people to take sides when they otherwise would not have been forced to take sides, it makes sense that the majority of support would have to fall along a particular line. So, like, it's not necessarily that people disagreeing or agreeing, it's that the underlying values are being discovered, if that makes more sense.
I don't think we discovered any underlying values of Mike Pence that made folks not like him. He just simply didn't call the election the way Trump did, and that was enough to kick him out of the party.
I love Mike Pence. I think Mike Pence is a better candidate.
What has happened to him? What has Mike Pence done to be kicked out of the party?
Well, I don't think he's kicked out of the party. Like, you were talking about this earlier, that you think Mike Pence legitimately has the opportunity to come back and maybe run for a gubernatorial candidate. I was listening to you earlier when you said that, and I think he probably actually
the question I'm asking you, you don't think Mike Pence's political career has been seriously hurt because of Trump?
I think it was an aftermath of everything that came out of it. Yes, absolutely. I do think
that's why, though? He didn't do anything wrong. Why is his career hurting?
Do you think that everyone that does something that doesn't do anything wrong doesn't have a negative impact on their career? I mean, he was the victim. I think that if you run afoul,
I'm going to say what I said at the beginning of our conversation. I think that if you run afoul of Trump, because that's what all of these people have in common. If you run afoul of Trump, your political career is in jeopardy. That's all it takes. I don't care what you've done. I don't care if you're a war hero. I don't care if you serve multiple terms. I don't care what you have done. If you are a Republican and you run afoul of Trump, that is all you need for your political career to be in jeopardy. And there are just simply too many examples of politicians that have faced this for me to think otherwise.
So I think that's a pretty fair statement to make, that Trump's support at this point in history has a very, very powerful impact on whether or not you're going to be successful or not. I think that's a fair statement to make. No, I would agree with that.
I would take it further than that, though. I don't think it's Trump's impact has a very big issue on whether you'll be successful or not. I think it has a big issue on whether you will remain successful or not, because you got people who have had successful careers long before Trump was in politics, and Trump can literally snap his fingers and say this guy is a rhino, and his whole career is over with. I mean,
Yeah,
so
I think Trump is more of a political phenomenon and a fad that's going to come and it's going to go, and I don't think it's going to have a lasting impact like you're insinuating. Like, I don't think it's going to be this thing that you're insinuating, where like someone like Pence, where like let me give you a specific personal example. Like, when I watched Pence in the debates, Pence was the presidential one in the debates. If you watch the VP debates, when he was the presidential one. He obviously should, in my opinion, he should have been president and having the debate. And Trump,
I don't think any MAGA would agree with you.
Well, if you actually legitimately watch the debates and watch it from a point of view that's an honest point of view, he annihilated the debates.
I don't think MAGA cares about that. This is what I keep telling you about the difference between MAGA and Republicans. MAGA doesn't care that Pence sounds better. MAGA likes Trump. There is nothing you're going to say about Pence that's going to make Pence look better than Trump. MAGA
You're
likes
just
Trump.
convincing me that I'm not MAGA more and more, brother.
Like, it's true.
I like good ideas.
Why would a politician state that I could shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and my supporters would go nowhere? Why would he even say that if he didn't think there was some validity to it?
Because Trump's crazy. Like, Trump is nuts, man. Like, what? Like, we all.
I think you're downplaying.
I'm giving you a point
I
of view.
think you're downplaying how powerful this guy really is.
No, I think he's very powerful, but I'm giving you a point of view from a perspective from a bunch of people that have felt like they haven't been heard in a long time. And that's why they're supporting this guy. Like, they felt like there's been a long period in United States history where they haven't been heard. And
that's fine.
They see, they see this person that's getting a lot of their and granted, he's crass, he's an idiot, he says a lot of stupid shit that they may not otherwise agree with, and they would never say in their own homes. But like, he's expressing a lot of things that, like, if you have to pick the lesser of two evils, which we're forced to do in politics all the time, like, that's our only two options 99% of the time. It's like,
okay, all right, I gotta part ways with you, but and I'll give you the last word. But let me say this in regards to Trump supporters, finally having somebody that's listening to them. I would submit to you, when it came to Barack Obama, I'm gonna give you another group of people who thought they hadn't been heard. Black folks. We finally got our first black president in history, and even we didn't show that type of damn loyalty. There are plenty of black people that were criticizing Obama and saying that he didn't do enough for black people. And you talk about a group of people that thought they had never been heard before. Huh?
It's because you couldn't come up with a good acronym.
I gotta go. Catch you later, man. Good talk. All right, let me go back to the comments. But I'm serious though. Good talk with him now. I'm serious though. When you talk about, as he said, Trump supporters are deeply supporting Trump because they finally have somebody they feel like that's listening to them and they have not been heard. I would say that the first black president, we should feel the same way. We've never even had a guy that looked like that in office. And yet we're not that strongly loyal to Obama. There are plenty of folks who could criticize Obama
And we wouldn't treat them like MAGA treats people that criticizes Trump. Hillary Clinton, she the one that started the whole birther movement. She said all kinds of negative things about Obama. Would not even concede that she lost to Obama until June of 2007. Yet we were willing to support her in 2016. I don't know what it is about MAGA that makes it so that if you criticize Trump, you become public enemy number one. Now you just seen the last caller. Did not like my suggestion that MAGA, grouping MAGA up in one way. But after our talk, I asked him, name me a politician that has spoken negatively of Trump and kept his job, kept his level of respect. I can't think of any of them. The ones who did, like the Ted Cruz's and Lindsey Graham's, they came back around and started kissing ass real fast. I mean, look at January 6th. Regardless of how you feel about what took place on January 6th, look at all of the Mitch McConnells and folks that got up there and was highly critical and blaming that on President Trump. Within a day or two, they were already back on Trump's side of the aisle and retracting their statements. And even still, there are plenty of folks who are already calling them rhinos. I don't know any politician in history that has had that level of power that simply criticizing them removes you from every accolade you've ever achieved. Even General Mattis, a freaking general, war general. Trump said he's the most overrated general in U.S. history. Most overrated general in U.S. history, despite all of the things that man did to become a general. All of the combat experience that guy had, all of the troops he's led in the battle. I don't even think MAGA held him accountable for saying that to what amounts to a war hero. That's what I'm talking about, is that type of stuff. We can criticize Obama for not even wearing a flag lapel. But you can turn a guy who served in combat multiple tours and just throw out that he's the most overrated general in U.S. history and get away with that. But Obama getting off of Air Force 2 or whatever, Marine 1 or whatever, the helicopter, Marine 1, and not saluting somebody as a war crime. Can somebody explain that to me? That is what I'm talking about. Or as Savage Hillbilly said, or better yet, D-Step said, the tan suit, wearing a tan suit. And I still have not really heard anybody in the MAGA crowd criticize Trump for the way he treated Mattis. And it's not like he came to office suggesting that Mattis was a piece of garbage and things like that, and he was a waste, somebody who needed to get out of the military. No, Trump was dragging Mattis around in rallies and talking about he's Mad Dog Mattis. He's really good. Changed on him like that. Snap of a finger, all of a sudden, most overrated general in U.S. history. And I didn't hear any criticism coming from MAGA on how he treated that guy. That is what we're talking about, folks. Anyhow, appreciate you guys rolling with your boy. You know how it is. Got to go to work in the morning, pull myself up by my bootstraps. You guys can be anywhere you want on TikTok. But I'm happy to say you spent a little bit of time with your boy. It's always a pleasure. You're always welcome to come in here, get to speak your mind. I do not censor comments. I prefer talking to MAGA, but liberals are welcome. Catch you guys in the next broadcast.